Meanwhile, Dolliver deep inside the Duchy of Tinley, the castle of the Viscount Saitina. Hold! Hold! Saint Edward raised his hand and repeated the words as he is watching the 20,000 cavalries rushing toward the 5,000 heavy infantry standing in front of the gate. The look of the thousands of cavalry speeding makes it hard to breathe, but not one of the infantry took a step back. They were all elites equipped with the best possible shields for their level, so they didn't panic. They started planting their shields in the ground, ready to die for their cause. Hold! The general waited until the cavalry troops were only 70 meters away from the heavy infantry, then lowered his hand and shouted, "Release!" A barrage of 50 explosive arrows was launched at the same time, not aimed at the cavalry themselves, but a few meters ahead of them. Boom! The talismans exploded, making a barrier of fire in front of the cavalries, aligned with a great noise from the explosions. This was nothing to the riders who were the elite under the knighthood, but to the horses of the first row came to a halt in fright, causing a massive collision in the first few rows. The ordinary archers quickly took the advantage of this opportunity and thousands of arrows rained on the stopped, defenseless cavalry troops. The first wave of arrows killed and seriously injured hundreds of cavaliers. When the leading officer saw, he shouted for everyone to raise their shields, and quickly managed to regroup and advance again towards the heavy infantry. But this time they had completely lost their momentum. If they had reached the heavy infantry at their full speed, they would have swept them under the horses' feet and would have reached the gate quickly. But now the front row cavalry is attacking the heavy infantry shields with their swords and halberd in a direct standoff. They still have a huge advantage of level deference and attacking from above the horses, but instead of swiping through, they are now just trying to slowly make way. Damn it! Is there no end to those arrows? St. Edgar on the other side hit the ground with his foot. The scene he had hoped for ever happened. The first clash ended with the cavalry halting and a few hundred of them dying, and with every passing second, hundreds upon hundreds of arrows would hit them and take some more lives. His aide quickly advanced. "General, if we leave them like this, all the cavalry may die under the archers' fierce attacks from the walls before they even reach the gate. We must do something." Edgar was silent for a few seconds. Of course he knew this. But what should he do? Is he going to fight himself? Even if he is the strongest man here, he is just a man. If he, Saitina, and his aide participated, so will the other side general and his closest comrades. What will this help? It was an unspoken agreement that those at the very top of the army can't engage in combat themselves. Not until the last minutes at least. Maybe he should allow his archers to advance? He quickly disregarded this idea. Who would his archers aim for? The half-circle of heavy infantry in front of the gate had tower shields that covered them from head to toe. Not in 1,000 years would some archers kill one of them. Then he glimpsed out of the corner of his eye the few thousand soldiers who disregarded the underground explosions and are still trying to slowly make their way towards the castle with an iron will, not caring about the explosions. He sighed and shook his head when he saw this. Draw all the standard infantry back and send the knights in the front row to attack the enemy infantry alone. "Excuse me? Do it!" St. Edgar shouted. On the surface, this movement did not seem smart at all. Although those infantry troops might not be strong enough to be elites, they are undoubtedly the bravest of them all. Even not counting their importance for the overall morale by displaying their courage, their presence was dividing the enemy's concentration, and that is itself is a good thing even if they didn't actually reach the gate. But St. Edgar had another view. The problem is that those standard infantrymen were drawing part of their strength and bravery from the fact that the front row were all knights. And those knights often helped them against explosions by receiving some explosions completely on their body or saving someone from death by pushing them, and things like that. Therefore, if the knights are separated from them, their resolve will weaken a lot, and there is a high possibility that they will flee for their lives as well, which will kill the last remaining morale of the army. So, withdrawing them by himself wasn't just the best solution, but the only one. After the orders were issued, the last part of Dolliver's army stopped and hurried back. But the front row of about 1,000 knights remained standing in their place. On the wall, St. Edward Bradley watches what happened with narrowed eyes. Humph, he's really going to do this trick? Then looked behind him and shouted, "Where the hell are our cavalries?" In response to the general, they have already exited the back gate a few minutes ago and are going around the castle now. They will arrive any time now. Just as the assistant general finished his words, everyone began to feel the ground shaking. Within a few seconds, 5,000 cavalry appeared from the left side of the castle and rushed towards the rear of the enemy cavalry legion. Attack! The speed of the joint Bradley and Burton cavalry increased little by little until they swept the back of the oblivious cavalry of the enemies who were still giving them their backs, unaware of the danger coming from behind. With a boom, the Dalivarian horses and their riders flew through the air, the 5,000 cavaliers rushing a few tens of meters into Daliver's army, leaving countless dead and wounded. After the commander of Daliver's cavalry realized what was happening at the back, he ordered to divide the legion and make the rear half-turn and fight the enemy cavalry while he focused on his original mission. This was his only solution, but it was not a solution either. Although Daliver's cavalry had broken through a few rows of Black Sun's heavy infantry, they still had a long way to go, and they were now trapped between the heavy infantry from the front and the cavalry from the back and the archers from the top. An unenviable position in any way you look at it. After Edward was reassured about the stability of the left front, he returned to observe the enemy knights coming straight from the front at high speed. He then issued his orders: hand over all that is left of the vitality talismans to our knights and send them out to make a welcome party for those bastards. Also send the Darkness Assassination Squad as well. They know what to do. The knights jumped over the wall one by one. The originally 600 plus the new 100 knights that Galen sent quickly advanced to stand in front of the heavy infantry and then advanced a few tens of feet. After a few seconds, more than 1,000 knights from Daliver collided with the 700 Black Sun knights. The battle of the few hundred knights soon became the most agitated battle on the field, even more than the battle of the saints, which is still raging in the sky. The numbers of knights are considered few in comparison to the large scope of the war, but all of them are above the 10th level. All of them had built their pillars of the heavenly laws and can use their heavenly laws freely. The lightning attacks from the Knights of Daliver and the fire shots from the Black Sun Knights were flying around, sometimes in coordination and sometimes in random shapes. Their battlefield soon turned into a sea of fire and lightning. In the air, the battle of the saints was balanced to some extent. The saints of Bradley and Burton families had with them a number of talismans of vitality and darkness before the start of the battle, and this contributed to balancing the scales somehow. But even with that, 2 saints have died on each side. That seems pretty good for the Black Sun side, as they stood their ground and even got the same number of kills. But if this pace continues, the numerical disadvantage of the Black Sun saints will soon be even more apparent. Now, all the pieces have been put in their places. There is nothing left for the generals but to wait and see what happens next. Another half an hour passed, which seemed like 10 years for everyone. The blood that was already like the sea rose higher. The rocks were covered with pieces of meat and fragments of broken bones were lying everywhere. What is going on now is one of the biggest personal wars between factions of 2 kingdoms in the last few centuries. The battle is still going on and the 3 fronts are still burning, but in one of them the scales began to shift in favor of one of the 2 sides. First, the front of the warring saints in the sky. The scales are still somewhat balanced with the loss of other saints on each side. The loss of the Black Sun saints is greater, of course, because they are fewer in number, but they are more coherent thanks to the talismans of vitality. So the battle is still without a clear winner. Secondly, the Knights front, the Knights of Daliver had the numerical advantage, but the Knights of the Black Sun are more equipped. The battle on their foreheads became more and more extensive, and a sea of fire and thunderbolts almost completely engulfed their combat area. The numbers of dead piling up at a frightening speed. Every few seconds a knight would fall on either side. But the strange thing is that the death rate of the Daliveroan knights is much higher. Reason: vitality talismans have already saved the Black Sun Knights a few times, but they are too few for a battle of this magnitude. The real reason definitely came down to the Darkness Assassination Squad. As Darkness talismans lose a lot of their function against saints, General Edward assembles a special squad of knights which are famous for their lethality and speed, and gives them most of the Darkness talismans that enable them to temporarily disappear for 5 seconds. And the 10th level Theo is assigned to this squad due to Robin's direct nomination. The only one under level 11 in the group, and he is also the only one who has caused the death of dozens of knights from Doliver so far. Theo wasn't like the others in the squad. He didn't have to choose a certain time to activate a talisman that will hide him for 5 seconds. He can just stay in the dark all day long, just depending on his energy consumption. He traveled through the shadows and then came out to suddenly pounce on the inattentive knight. This enabled him to wreak havoc against all knights below level 12. On a few times, he even interfered in battles between higher-level knights to distract the Knight of Doliver, causing his death. The rest of the experts in the Assassin's Battalion also took advantage of the 5 seconds of invisibility to harvest dozens of lives from the Doliver Knights so far. They have become a terror in the minds of all the Knights of Doliver. They all fight with half a mind. Part of their minds is focused on the going fight and the other part is trying to prepare to receive one of the treacherous attacks from behind. Vitality talismans showed their full effect on the Saints' front, while the darkness talismans, which causes temporary invisibility, showed their full effectiveness against the knights. Third and last, the front of the cavalry against the armored infantry. Doliver's cavalry are still trying to make their way towards the gate and have already penetrated tens of rows, but their problem is, they are also being penetrated from behind. The Black Sun cavalry, in cooperation with the archers above the wall, are both committing a complete massacre at the back. Although Doliver's cavalry is supposed to be split up and the rear is responsible for the fight against the Black Sun cavalry, 10,000 against 5,000 is still largely in their favor. However, those 10,000 cavalries could not gather in a decent formation to counterattack. Although they were startled from behind and slashed in half until it was very difficult to reform again, they are still far more in number than their enemies, and theoretically they could still resist or even win. But the thing is, whenever a small battalion of the Doliverian cavalry tries to assemble separately to counterattack and establish a foothold, they would find an explosive arrow in the center of their gathering that frightens the horses and they break apart again. Or they find a sphere of white flames that swallows them all without a chance to scream, entire small battalions, disappearing in the blink of an eye, leaving nothing but charred corpses. The reason behind the immense coordination and infinite precision in killing any attempt to resist was thanks to Peon, whose ear picks up any important words uttered on the battlefield thanks to the major wind heavenly law. When he hears something about gathering, penetration from behind, resistance, etc., he tells the talisman's archers or Caesar directly about their place. The archers would target them and scatter them, or Caesar would jump in their midst and ignite the flame field. So far, Caesar has ignited the flame field more than 15 times, each time lasting 1 or 2 seconds, but this period is more than enough to kill or seriously injure everyone within the range. After all, since upgrading to the 10th level, the flame field became wider as it burned 10 meters on each side, and became stronger enough to burn a knight at the 12th level. So what will happen to people in the levels between 6-10 when they find themselves in the middle of the range? The third front, the cavalry front, is what has swung in favor of the Black Sun. They rate they are dying out and frightening, blocked from the front and being eaten at the back. Another half an hour and surely all of them will try to escape. From the top of the wall, General Edward silently watched what was happening around him, took a general idea of everything that was happening, and then closed his eyes. After about 2 minutes he suddenly opened his eyes and summoned his friend and assistant, Saint and Assistant General Daniel Bradley, and then spoke solemnly. "Try time to finish this. I give orders to disband the defensive armored infantry formation and have them round Doliver's cavalry from above." "WH. What? But this will greatly weaken the defense in front of the gate. The cavalry will easily break through the few remaining ranks and reach the gate. What do we do then? We can't participate and defend the gate ourselves. It's a taboo in wars." Assistant General Daniel was terrified of what he heard. "This is the second part of my orders. Open the gates and take out all the remaining infantry. Have them tighten the siege around Doliver's cavalry. We will not allow one of them to escape." Damn! This was the first thing that came across Daniel's mind when heard the new command. Currently, the armored infantry is still in a semicircle position around the gate. The left side of them is what is being heavily attacked now by the Doliverian cavalry. The rest of the semicircle doesn't do anything actually, but they are standing up to defend against any other sudden attacks or to enforce the left side and push with them if needed. The new General Edwards' plan was to make the right half of the circle move forward and then to the left. He wants them to form another semicircle, but this time above to the cavalry of Dolivar. Right now, the cavalry of Dolivar are already in a tight position. In front of them, the heavily armored infantry. They are all elites and are ready to die before letting them pass. Behind them, the ruthless cavalry of the Black Sun. Without any formation to hold them back, the cavalry of the Black Sun Kingdom are like lions among sheep. Above them, the archers who don't stop raining arrows on their heads, which is one of the main reasons why they can't penetrate the heavily armored infantry faster, because they are also watching for a random arrow to hit their heart. On their right, the castle wall of Setna. It's made to hold against knights' attacks. Much less them, so it's impossible to damage it. The only source of morale left was actually the fact that there is still a safe passage to run to if they wanted to escape. They can just run to their left and they would be going straight to their general and the rest of the army. But after the implementation of the new plan, they will also have armored infantry on their left. Their only escape will be completely closed. 20,000 elite cavalries will be like a mouse in a box if the plan goes through. Daniel nodded. Yeah. General, do you have other orders? Saint Edward turned his face toward the Battle of the Saints. Dispatch the 5 saints that Patriarch Galen sent as support. It's time to finish that front as well. Kingdom of the Black Sun, the capital, the main conference hall. The meeting between the elders of the Black Sun realm is still taking place today. After Galen Bradley's presence, other dukes began to arrive as well. They were basically still discussing what had happened at the 8 Kingdoms tournament in Dolivar. But from any angle they looked at the situation, what happened there can be linked and used as an explanation of what the Kingdom of Dolivar has been doing over the previous decades of small-scale harassment. It is just that the sudden escalation of the killing of their geniuses in the hunting event and then the attempt to assassinate Caesar and the murder of St. Murphy cannot be justified with common logic. Many theories were introduced but were complicated and intertwined. Sometimes one session was held for 2 or 3 consecutive days before everyone returned to their temporary homes in the capital, and then returned the next morning to start another session. Talks and theories aroused day after day. But the common thing at the end of each session is that they refer to St. Felix's first theory. That whatever the reason is, Dolivar did intend to start an all-out war against them. This brought many accusations against Duke Galen and Earl Brian, who had also recently arrived under orders from Sage Albert to be questioned. They only sent 60,000 soldiers to conquer a duchy. Even if Duke Galen sent his elite, doesn't the Duchy of Tinley have elites of their own? Even if the knights and saints of both sides were somewhat balanced, their mortal army is at a great disadvantage. Although the first 2 confrontations were now legends that can be immortalized in the history of the victories of the Black Sun, and they already became a source of pride for the citizens after the news spread, such a small army would be defeated no matter how long it held out inside, so why did they send it? To increase hostility with Dolivar? To give them enough reason to carry out their plans for total war? It is not as if they are afraid of Dolivar, but fighting without sufficient information is not a wise choice. If Galen and Brian are really trying to fan the flames of an all-out royal war, they are traitors who deserve punishment. The 2 patriarchs commented on the accusations that they had received many benefits from Caesar's master and that he promised to assist the Black Sun Kingdom if the situation worsened. Frequently asked the question asterisk, who is Caesar's master? Who made those explosive talismans? Asterisk. But neither of them answered clearly. They just kept evading. Discussions and accusations continued until only a few hours ago when the messenger came to inform them that the Duchy of Tinley had sent General St. Edgar Tinley at the head of an army of 170,000 soldiers to fight General Edward's army, and that General Edward is currently preparing to confront them at Cytina Castle. 170,000 against less than 60,000. It seems that the Duchy of Tinley can no longer stand the presence of this small army in their lands anymore. Since this shocking news came, the discussions calmed down and everyone was prevented from leaving the hall until the results of this decisive battle came back. The atmosphere was very heavy. Everyone spent these hours trying to anticipate the results and the consequences. The most optimistic prediction was that their saints might be able to escape. Even Galen and Bradley, who know well the real number of talismans with the army, were terrified when they heard about General St. Edgar and his army of 170,000 soldiers, In their minds, they were already cursing Robin because he wasn't patient enough and giving them time to raise a bigger army or make more talismans. The suffocating atmosphere clouded the thoughts of everyone. If someone had told them a year ago that they would gather here to follow the events of a war of just an earl and wait nervously for the results, they would have mocked him, but fate played its game. So much depends on this small army. The hours passed slowly, but at last, knock knock. There was a knock on the door twice, and then straight in came General Nicholas, a level 29 saint. He's one of the respected generals of the royal army, but he's been assigned to bring news of this war quickly. Everyone held their breath when they saw the saint entering. They waited until he took a few steps and leaned toward the sage Albert Marley, then stiffened his back and smiled. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have won." "WH, what did you say? What do you mean we won? Have many of our soldiers managed to escape successfully?" Joy, then surprise, then their brains stopped working. Finally, a few politicians stood up and started asking questions. Sage Albert also could not understand anything from the messenger's sentence, so he furrowed his eyebrow and asked, "Explain more. Nicholas, what do you mean by we won?" "Your Highness, my words were clear and I mean what I am saying. We have won. It is not a moral victory as some think. We have won a complete and crushing victory," Saint Nicholas proclaimed out loud. Sage Albert held his seat's armrest excitedly when they heard this resounding announcement. The sages in the room started standing up slowly. Asterisk victory. Victory. Asterisk. We won. Ha ha ha. Bastards of Dolliver. Who do you think we are? Ha ha ha. Some started hugging each other and some started throwing their hats to the ceiling. It was a great joy for everyone. This is a victory that will be immortalized in history, but there were three who weren't as excited. The first two are Galen and Brian. They were just sitting in their original places, didn't move an inch, giving a smile of relief. They both looked as they were about to faint at any point now. The last days were a huge pressure on them. They appeared strong from the outside, but they both sent their entire elite force there. If they lost them, it would have been unthinkable. The psychological comfort from this announcement was enough for them to relax and sleep for an entire year. The third one was still Sage Albert, whose features changed from astonishment to furrowed eyebrows and then wonder, then asked Nicholas, "Explain to me everything that happened there, even the most boring detail." Upon hearing these words, everyone calmed down and immediately went back to their places, lest they miss a single detail. Nicholas bowed a little and began to say, "As you command, Your Highness, at first when the army of the Duchy of Tinley appeared Nicholas mentioned every detail, small and big, because he is also a great general with extensive knowledge of war affairs. He was able to notice things greater than the average person. Everyone listened to every word and their features changed more than once, especially when he heard the tactic of explosions from under the feet of the army of the Duchy of Tinley. Then they all looked at Brian and Duke Bradley, who chuckled and said nothing. After the enemy's cavalry was surrounded by the armored infantry, the enemy's cavalry tried to penetrate the last of their ranks from the front and rush towards the gate. But they were surprised that the gate opened and those inside were pushing towards them. Quickly about 40,000 infantry soldiers came out and tightened the siege on the enemy cavalry. Enemy saints tried to send a saint or two to open a path for the cavalry, but their way was blocked by 5 saints from our side, and the battle of saints was fully sealed. None of them could breathe even if they wanted, let alone try to go to help another front. After only half an hour, all the enemy cavalry were wiped out. The only thing left of them was only the few thousand horses they were riding. Then the army was directed towards the Battle of the Knights, which was still going on. And we had the victory sealed already when our cavalry and our infantry rushed there. They surrounded all the enemy knights and a huge massacre began. In the blink of an eye, that front was done as well, with only about 100 high-ranking enemy knights escaping. Then our knights went to help the saints in their battle. So we killed 5 more enemy saints before the rest managed to escape. Everyone was waiting for Saint Edgar to move and join the battle. Even I was ready to fight if he decided to join himself. But in the end, he gave up and preferred to fly away. When the enemy infantry who had retreated saw this, they grew even more terrified and ran in all directions. Then General Edward ordered their pursuit. Our army pursued them for a few kilometers until they were able to capture more than 30,000 of them. Our losses were limited to 3 saints and a few thousand soldiers, about 100 knights, in addition to all the talismans. Our victory is crushing and overwhelming. The Duchy of Tinley will be unable to rebuild their army even after 50 years. Ha ha ha. This is so satisfying. This will teach them a lesson. Ha ha ha. They thought it would be easy to bully our kingdom. That's what they deserve. Laughter, shouting, and manly embraces all shook the hall. Even Sage Albert had a big smile on his old face. This was the best news he had heard in many years. No matter what happened next, this short war would be enough for the citizens of the Black Sun Kingdom to brag about for the next few hundred years. Sage Albert nodded toward the messenger, then spoke. "Thank you, Nicholas, for your detailed report. You may join us now." Then he continued. "First of all, and before doing anything else, this news must be spread in every corner of our kingdom, and even making sure it's spread to all the other kingdoms. Everyone must know the greatness of the kingdom of the Black Sun. Does anyone has any objection to this?" "No, sir. That's exactly the right thing. I strongly support this suggestion." Everyone quickly agreed. Raising the morale of the citizens means greater affiliation, increased production, and an increase in the number of those who wish to join the army. The news can also crush the Dalivarian citizens and make the war easier, and make the other kingdoms fearful and respectable when they deal with the Black Sun in the future. Good. Secondly, according to the report, our army there no longer has any more talisman and their numbers have decreased to less than 50,000. Any further attack on them will only mean their death. We must do something to preserve the safety of these heroes. For this, I formally ask the 3 border duchies to gather their entire army. I repeat, all of your armies, and put them on the border at full speed. When a battalion is completed, then send them the frontier as soon as possible. Within a week, I want at least 400,000 soldiers there. Do the 3 duchies have a problem with this?" Duke George Stanley stood up. "I'll start the arrangements at once." Duke Raymond Alton followed him. "I have already begun sending my troops since your honor's last instructions, but I will increase the pace of the dispatch today. I will send my whole army and declare general mobilization as well." The one who received this decision with joy was none other than Duke Donald Everin. As he is the middle duchy between the 3, and if Doliver as a whole decided to keep up with their original plan to make a true royal war, they will cross through his land first, so gathering such an army on his land was in his interest. Good. Now for the 3rd object for today. At this point, the sage looked in the direction of Earl Brian and Duke Gallon, who were sitting next to each other, and spoke. "You two contact this genius who invented the talismans and asked him to make other patches, and tell him that the royal family was willing to purchase the technique for making fire runes for 50 million gold coins. The price is negotiable." Gallon frowned for a moment before quickly regaining his condition and nodded with a slight smile. He sent his elites and lost thousands of them, including about 100 knights and 2 saints. He took a huge risk and a gamble on the future of his family in this war. If he didn't win or lose most of his elites, then he would have been finished. The royal family would make an example of him to avoid the full-out war with Doliver. And all of this was for the method of making fire talismans. But after he heard the number Sage Albert said, only then did he realize that what he paid was really too cheap a price for it. However, even with this realization, he was still angry. He hoped that Robin would reject the offer. He certainly does not want the method of making the fire talismans to fall into the hands of anyone else. As for Earl Brian, he didn't even nod, but remained stunned by the number, 50 million gold coins. The entire Burton family earned about 1 million coins per year. When salaries, living expenses, and army supplies are deducted, there would be less than 100,000 gold coins left as net profit. Of course, there are always other ways for the family to gain coins, like selling lands and making a bargain in some business, but that is a one-time thing and not a direct source of income. So technically, it would take about 400–500 years to be able to save those 50 million gold coins. Sage Albert understood the reason behind Earl Brian's idiotic look and didn't try to pressure him for an answer, but went back to addressing everyone. The council is suspended for today. Every one of you should go now to do his task. And who doesn't have a task focuses on spreading the news. equals 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 equals. A similar and different scene takes place at the same time inside the imperial palace in Doliver. Similar in that also all the leaders of the kingdom are gathered to decide what they would do in the future. And different because they were sitting as if they were in funeral. Furrowed eyebrows and ugly faces. Some of them seem as if they wish the earth would open up and swallow them up. Insult. Absolute insult. There were no side discussions. No screaming, no arguments, just silence. Until the person seated on the chief chair spoke. Sage-crowned Prince Louis finally broke the silence, saying, "Has there been a new message from the allies?" Yes, Your Highness. Even after trying to negotiate further, their decision has not changed. A middle-leveled saint replied with fear. They refuse to support us again. Huh? For decades, we have been looking for an opportunity like this to start a total royal war without the intervention of empires. And when the opportunity comes, they back down. Sage Louis's words rose until he finally roared, terrifying everyone present. They say that everything has changed. These talismans are so powerful they cannot join us until they know how much the Black Sun has a stock of them, how fast they can be produced, ways to counter them, and even ways to steal their design. The face of Sage Louis twisted in anger. And what do we do now? They made us stand in front of the cannon while they were relaxing from afar and watching. Because of them, we had to provoke the Black Sun Kingdom, and they have the audacity to speak like we are begging for undeserving help. Reports say that there are approximately 200,000 soldiers standing on the Black Sun border with us, preparing to enter at any time, and their number is still increasing. If that army is also armed with those talismans, there may not be anything called Doliver after this war ends. Your Highness, this might not be the case. Perhaps all of their talismans already ran out in the last battle. One of the saints quickly replied optimistically. The sage looked wide at him. Aren't you the one who said earlier that the weapon with Caesar and his two brothers was just a sample to frighten us, and that it was impossible for them to have quantities of it? That's right, Your Highness, but I was just... What are you doing? No. The saint fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. He died. If one of you speaks again, he must be responsible for what he says. Sage Louis spoke slowly. He was still sitting still. He did not move. Silence fell over the place again. Before they had nothing to say, and now whoever has something to say is too afraid to speak. When the sage saw this, he continued, "In the process of assassinating Caesar, it is said that he used level 16 fire weapons. We can assume now that it was those talismans. Does this mean that they possessed quantities of fire runes of all levels between 6 and 16? So far, they are messing with us and attacking with these weak talismans, but they have already tied their hands and our feet with its presence. What would happen if the higher level talisman comes up? We are the ones who brought this on ourselves. Now we know what they are capable of, and we know that our damn allies have abandoned us in the first real test. What do we do? Give me your opinions." After a few seconds, the Duke replied, "Your Highness, we are without an ally, and if we try to declare all-out war we will provoke the Black Sun Kingdom further. I see that we have two only solutions. The first is that we already declared that it's a personal problem of the Tinleys. We can let the Duchy of Tinley handle the situation on their own and distance ourselves from what is happening there, as if we see nothing." A man suddenly stood up and struck the table in front of him with his hand. "What do you mean by this? You want the kingdom to forsake us completely? We have taken the responsibility of the killing of that Burton saint for the sake of the kingdom. We aren't even the ones who attacked the boy and killed the saint. St. Louis put that into our shoulders and we accepted it. Is this our reward? How dare you even suggest the matter?" This was the representative of the Duchy of Tinley in the council, for Duke Titus himself was in his palace following the developments of what was happening in his duchy. "Please calm down, sir. I'm just stating the current situation, and the decision ultimately belongs to His Highness." "Sure, no one interferes again." Sage Louis raised his hand to stop the side discussions as the Tinley envoy was about to speak, then gestured at the previous saint. "You may continue." "Yes, Your Highness, as I said, The first solution would be to plainly abandon the Duchy of Tinley, so as to prevent the army of the Black Sun on the frontier with us from joining the battle, and let Duke Galen gather larger armies to get rid of the present intruders while we just support him with weapons and gold, or might try to tire them out in a battle of attrition. Their numbers are already small, they are just an earl family, and Galen Bradley wouldn't send much more men for fear about his own borders. Those two suggestions are basically one. The continues of the war. The problem with this proposal is that it will prolong the war for God knows how long, and will allow the enemy army to increase their supplies and perhaps bring more talismans. If this happens, their control over the duchy may increase little by little, or even they uproot the entire Tinley family and take over the entire duchy. But the good side of the suggestion is that they will not advance beyond the Duchy of Tinley whether they lose or win, and we can always find a way to reclaim our lands in the future if one member of the Tinley family survives. At this point, the Tinley family's envoy clenched his hand so tightly that it bled. This was the worst possible scenario but also the highest possibility. The sage nodded. Go ahead. What's the second option? The second option is a non-aggression treaty. What did you say? Do you want us to surrender and give up our lands? Sage Lewis shouted. He knew very well the meaning of the second option. The Tinley family representative also nodded. Damn you, traitor! We won't leave them an inch of our lands. Your Highness, our lands have already been taken from us and we can't take them back in a short period of time if we depend only on the Tinleys. They have already lost a huge part of their core force. Within 2 weeks, the enemy has already taken about half of the duchy under their control. How long will we wait? The first option is still on the table, but the risks are too great. So I suggested we make a non-aggression pact for 10 years, for example, during which we will research more to know what those talismans are and how to repel them. After the pact ended, then Duke Tinley can return with our new knowledge and more competent army and tactics to retake his lands. Sage Lewis didn't reply quickly. Nor did the representative of the Tinley family reply. They cannot even decide which choice is worse. The first was the option of a prolonged war in which the danger of erasing the whole duchy. And the second was submission, raising the white flag and giving up 40% of the size of the duchy, the lands that the enemy already have, for the sake of peace. After a moment of deathly silence, the word "do it" was heard. You Highness, send messengers to the general of the enemy army and to the capital of the Black Sun Kingdom. Tell them we are ready to surrender the land they had invaded to join the lands of the Black Sun and will not attempt to attack to retake it. In return, we want a non-aggression pact for 50 years. The Tinley family envoy quickly stood up. Your Highness, how can we remain a Duke family after this? Is this our reward for following your orders? I will give you lands from the rest of the duchies around you. Your overall land will be large enough for you to keep the title of Duke. After the non-aggression pact ends, you will take your lost lands back. Now sit down. Indeed, the Tinley family representative returned to his sullen face, but he was kind of pleased. This was the best possible outcome for his family. Then the sage stood up. We'll meet again when we get the response of the Black Sun Kingdom. Disperse. Equals 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 equals. When the news of the treaty's proposal reached General Edward, he told the messenger of Dolliver that he would stop in his place until orders came to him from his superiors. Well, actually he would have stopped anyway since he had run out of all the talismans he had. But when the request for a non-aggression pact reached the Black Sun capital, it caused an unparalleled storm. This was a declaration of surrender. What about the inconveniences at the Eight Kingdoms event? What about the murder of Saint Murphy? Where is what strengthens their heart? Was all that just empty bullshit? Previously, everyone rejoiced at the successive victories, but they remained on alert. They were waiting for a strong reaction, and in the end, came a declaration of surrender? What is that? The laughter and mockery in the conference room at the first announcement made the messenger of Dolliver think of suicide out of shame. But when they calmed down and studied the matter further and found that the talismans had already run out, everyone decided that the treaty would really be in their best interest. Especially Earl Brian Burton, who was living every moment as if in a dream. No, he never once dared about dreaming of something like that. as all the progress that has been achieved until now is considered a false victory. Delivar can attack again and take it at any time, but this offer secures what they have collected so far. At least he will not be afraid of Delivar's attacks for a certain period of time. And this is more than excellent. But before giving the final decision he contacted Robin, who told him to do what he saw as right, but that he should base his decision on that he did not have another large amount of talismans. With no more talismans then they can't start another battle or they will be exposed. Thus this pact was more than good for him. The dream of his family for the past 1,000 years was to collect enough land to get the title of Marquis. But now he will get much more. Without much loss in soldiers. After everyone agreed in principle and Earl Brian strongly supported the idea, the process of peace negotiations began, which took about 2 weeks back and forth until the final terms were agreed upon, and they are as follows. The Black Sun shall obtain another piece of land from the Tinleys in addition to the previously conquered lands, bringing the final total to exactly half of the Duchy of Tinley. The non-aggression agreement will only last for 20 years. 10 million gold coins were paid as a ransom for 50,000 Dalivarian prisoners. The officials of the Kingdom of the Black Sun were keen to publish everything that is happening in all parts of the kingdom and as quickly as possible, and to all the other 7 kingdoms as well. Their spies inside Dalivar secretly published the pact terms in every corner. It is an insult to Dalivar in every sense of the word, and an unparalleled pride for the Black Sun Kingdom. Everyone witnessed their miserable treatment of the expedition of the Black Sun Kingdom. They witnessed the attempt to assassinate the child Caesar, and they witnessed the killing of a saint of the Black Sun who came to participate in the event on the lands of Dalivar. So the attack of the Black Sun Kingdom is justified to the fullest extent. But what is not justified is the successive defeats. A small army of 60,000 soldiers completely crushed the Duchy of Tinley, and in the end, Dalivar declared defeat and gave up a large part of its territory. The legendary tales of the 60,000-strong army will remain in the minds and on the tongues for a very long time. But the elders had other things on their minds. Everyone who had some power in the 8 kingdoms was thinking of the same questions. What are those talismans that the Bradley and Burton families used to achieve these crushing victories? Who produced them? How can we get them? Another 2 weeks had passed quickly since the non-aggression pact was signed. After the news about the pact reached General Edward, he started to implement what he had to do. As such, he started giving the new promotions to those who deserved them, distributing the spoils of war between all the soldiers, handing over the captured war slaves in exchange for gold, etc. The trio Caesar, Peon, and Theo had the lion's share of promotions and spoils, with no one objecting to this. Everyone saw or at least heard about the three's heroism in all the battles. After all the formalities were over and Edward handed over the captives to Dalivar's officials and received wagons loaded with the 10 million gold coins. After the handover of the captives was completed, he announced that he would return to the Duchy of Bradley and that he would hand over all the conquered lands to St. David Burton, level 24, the second most powerful figure in the Burton family after Earl Brian. The Burton family flag rose over all the conquered lands side by side with the Black Sun Kingdom's flag. This shocked everyone. It shocked the people of the Kingdom of the Black Sun more than those of the Kingdom of Dalivar. Wasn't Duke Galen Bradley taking Caesar being a disciple in his institution as an excuse to interfere in the war and seize these lands? After all the suffering and complete support, after all the deaths and destructions, he simply ordered to withdraw? No one thought for a second that someone like Galen would truly participate in such war for justice. But when Galen was asked in the capital about what was happening, he laughed out loud and said, "I won something else." And he didn't explain further. Finally, after everything got settled, General Edward had appointed that he would return home. All the saints of the Bradleys who participated in the war, among them Mila, gathered to return with him. All the knights and soldiers of the Bradleys also gathered to return. Their role here is over. Only the 25,000 soldiers of the Burton family remained in their posts, headed by 4 saints, including David and Billy Burton. Even though no one was afraid about the little numbers, it was understandable. Even if all the 60,000 returned, the lands would still belong to the Burton family. The Kingdom of Dalivar would not break the non-aggression pact so quickly. At the last moment, 4 others joined the escort of General Edward and his soldiers. They were St. Billy Burton and 3 young men, all returning with them to the Duchy of Bradley. Equals 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 equals. Bradley's victorious army took about 20 days to unhurriedly move from their position at Castle Cytina to reach the borders of the Duchy of Bradley. Although the war lasted for about 2 weeks from the first battle to the last, it will remain an unforgettable memory in the minds of those who have taken part in it. From the moment they entered the old border of the Black Sun Kingdom, they were greeted by a gigantic army numbering hundreds of thousands, all standing in line and saluting them with the highest form of military respect. And all the way to the duchy they were greeted with flowers and applause. Every village and every city they passed by, the people living there would come out to give them a salute that only heroes deserve. Everything was a fantasy to them. All of them hoped that they would take a longer route so that this moment of pride would last as long as possible. But everything beautiful ends quickly. The army finally arrived and was received in front of the city of Bradley's Pearl with a great welcome. Every soldier went to embrace his family happily. Sons look at their warrior fathers as if they are the greatest being in existence. It was a moment in history, but not everyone witnessed it. Since the army reached his residence, 6 people left and silently entered the city. More specifically, heading towards the Bradley Military Institution. Robin was sitting on his chair in the front yard of his house, raising his face towards the sky as usual, Zara sitting next to him, drawing as usual as well. But unusually, a third person sits a little farther away, sleeping while embracing a sword. He was one of the knights assigned to protect Robin. They learned their lesson since the accident and decided that one of them should be next to Robin at all times and not be more than a few meters away from him. At this moment an excited voice came, "Father!" Robin opened his eyes and looked toward the source of the sound, and when he saw Caesar, whose eyes were filled with tears, a big smile appeared on his face. Before even trying to get up to receive the new arrivals, Caesar jumped and threw himself on his lap and embraced him, causing both of them to fall off the chair. Robin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at what happened, but he eventually smiled and patted Caesar's head. "You little brat. Didn't I tell you to call me Big Brother?" Robin chuckled and spoke calmly. Caesar also smiled a little but didn't reply as they both that everyone here know of their actual relationship, even if it is confusing and continued to embrace his old man. This was considered their real meeting since Caesar left Billy for the first time about a year and a half ago. When Caesar returned after the assassination attempt on his life, he felt humiliated and small, and that he was the reason for old Murphy's death, while Robin was filled with feelings of anger and desire for revenge. Neither of them was in a mode for a warm meeting at that time. After a few seconds of patting the crying Caesar on the head, Robin quickly scanned the incoming with the quick look, finding 5 people other than Caesar, his 2 other brats, and 3 saints. 2 of them were Mila and Billy, who both smiled and nodded their heads at him. The third was a man who seemed to be middle-aged, his aura much stronger than them and the first time Robin saw him, and also he was the only one who made a complete bow when Robin's eyes fell on him. Then Robin was curious about his identity and asked, "And who might you be?" In response to noble Robin, "I, General Edward, have had the honor to lead your army against Dolliver in this war," replied Edward, then stiffened his back from the bow and looked at Robin with a look of reverence. "Oh, so you're the man, W. You son of a bitch. How long are you going to keep me on the ground like this?" Robin kicked Caesar off him. "But I missed father. Why do you treat me like this?" Caesar, who fell a few steps away, felt that he is wronged. "Man up, you bastard." Robin got up and dusted him off and then looked back at Edward again with a smile. "Ahem. So you're the commander of the army that kicked some Dolliverian asses. I have heard the details of the battles. You really are a genius, General. Please don't put me in an embarrassing situation, noble Robin. If it were not for your talismans, I would not have done anything even if I had 200,000 soldiers. In the end, I would have been defeated and expelled from enemy territory. Everything should be attributed to you." Edward shook his head quickly. He had previously heard Duke Gallen talking about this young man's genius, but when he first saw the talismans himself, when he saw their effects and their enormous amounts, only then did he know the weight of this young man. Simply, Whoever enjoys Robin's support will not be stopped by anything or anyone, and whoever gains his enmity. May the heavens help him. Robin smiled and shook his head. My inventions without a smart person making the most of them would be useless too, and I can't think of ways to use my talismans to the fullest better than the ones you came up with. Galen made a good choice. Then he continued, all right, let us not stand here like idiots, haha. Let's move on inside my humble house. There are important things to be decided today. Equals 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 equals. Inside House 207, Robin and the three saints sat facing each other, while the three young men remained standing and Zara went to fetch drinks for everyone after a brief reunion with her brother. As for the knight assigned to protect Robin, he asked permission and left earlier. This meeting was far above his level. The first to speak was Billy. Brother Robin, what did you mean by saying that there is much that will be decided today? Mila and I just came to say hi, and General Edward came because he wanted to get to know you. There is nothing serious going on here. Robin laughed. Oh, that what you thins. But there actually is an important topic I would like to hear your thoughts about. Mila furrowed her eyebrows. What is it, Robin? Speak directly. Robin turned his face toward her. Mila, let me ask you something. As far as I remember, I owe nothing to the Bradleys. Do you remember why I came here at the beginning? Mila's heart sank when she heard this question. You came to find a stable environment in which you can work quietly while you are under our protection, and so that your family does not take advantage of you by forcing you to do anything you do not want. And as I remember, I did everything to make you feel comfortable and protected. We honored our agreement with you to the fullest and even some more. Why would you bring that up? Billy chuckled and scratched his head when he heard the second part of the reason about the Burtons taking advantage of him, and spoke. Although it's just a fantasy in Robin's head. It's okay. I was subjected to an assassination attempt about a month ago or so, right here inside this residence you gave me, Robin said in a quiet voice. What? Everyone in the room rose up on their feet, especially Mila, who immediately stood up in anger and shock. Where were the guards? I'm going to kill them all. Robin raised his hand. Calm down, girl. I didn't tell you to kill the guards, on the contrary. I was about to ask you to forgive them because it was a simple slip. They were absent when the attack happened, and I do not hate them for it. What do you mean by simple slip, noble Robin? Their mistake almost cost us the most powerful ally in the family history. They should be punished with the most severe punishment possible. This time it was Saint Edward who spoke. Right. They and their entire family should be killed. Mila didn't even get close to the term calm down. But she suddenly realized something and asked, Robin, who tried to kill you? And how did you survive if the guards were not present? You are underestimating me, girl. I, who made all of this possible, am now weak. Whatever, I'm fine, that's what matters. Don't punish the two of them because of me. As for the one who tried to assassinate me, he is a person from the family of Marquis Rufus. He was a level 14 knight and he is a student in the institution. And his reason is simply that they want to release their anger on me because of what Caesar did to the son of that Rufus guy. Caesar was terrified when heard this. What? I'm sorry. I put you in this position. That what happens when you go around literally shoving halberds in people's asses, you little bastard. Robin said it seriously, then burst out laughing. Mila sat down again and furrowed her eyebrows. Even more, Saint Edward was also in no better shape. Saint Rufus controls a large scope of lands in the Duchy of Bradley, almost more than a half, and his power has increased quite a little recently due to his attack on Baron Camden and the occupation of part of the lands of the Kingdom of Lying Water. Although he lost the piece of land he took from Baron Camden just a few weeks later to a large army from the Lying Water Kingdom, he still blundered it completely and stole quite a bit of riches, and took thousands of slaves to sell, which boosted his momentum and wealth. Although the Marquis is still considered a vassal of Duke Galen in name, in reality, he is more like head-to-head with Galen, as it is impossible for Galen to really question or severely punish him. Robin chuckled when he saw their reaction. Haha, don't worry, I won't ask you to avenge me. I brought it up to tell you one thing. I'm not safe here. Mila finally understood where was Robin getting at, and hurriedly responded, Robin, don't make a decision because of a single incident like this. From today onwards, the Bradley family will appoint 3 saints. No, for saints. To protect you at all times. The Marquis might have some manpower, but he still can't openly defy the Bradleys. Robin nodded. That really might work against the Marquis' attempts. But what about who is stronger than him? Who do you mean stronger? How many grudges you and that brat of yours have caused, and with how many people? Even Billy was shocked by Robin's words. Ha ha ha. I don't even know. St. Edward asked. Can you explain more, noble Robin? Robin sighed and rubbed his forehead. I admit that I have made a mistake. I messed up. Okay? I have let my emotions take over me this time. Or maybe because I didn't expect this dazzling success of the talismans. And I just didn't want my kid to get bullied and live with it. I want him to raise his head high whenever he goes. For he is my son and my general. How can I allow those bastards to break his spirit? Peon and Theo are the same, none is allowed to break them. So I thought we would beat them up a little and take a few slaves, and that would be a lesson to them. How do I think that a genius general would put my innovations to work so well? Caesar, Theo, and Peon, who was standing at the side, had different reaction to Robin's speech. But at one point, tears began to accumulate in the eyes of all 3. Thank you for your praise, I guess. But what does that have to do with our topic, noble Robin? St. Edward asked again confusingly. Very simply now, all the kingdoms are looking for the source of the talismans. Even the Black Sun royal family is definitely searching with all their might as we speak now, and sooner or later the investigations will lead them here. May I ask you, as representatives of the Bradley family, what are you going to do then? You think so much, Robin, that even if they arrive because the Bradleys are the source of the talismans, they won't know about you. You're just a disciple in the military institution. Mila made her case. Kings and politicians are not stupid, Mila, even if most of them are deceived. One will link my appearance to you with the appearance of Talisman and * my younger brother * powerful laws techniques. And don't forget that the talismans come out of my house. I told you to keep it a secret, but almost all the upper echelons and knights of the Bradleys know about me. You don't have to worry about them. They are human beings, and humans betray and make mistakes, and that's okay. I'm not accusing you of anything. Ever since so many people knew about me, I knew something bad was going to happen sooner or later, and I was mentally prepared for this. But after all of this, the chance of information leaking became far greater. Robin shrugs. At this point, Billy enters. Robin, you explained that you came here for protection, so that the Burtons wouldn't take advantage of you. Now you know the Bradleys can't protect you, and you realize that it's impossible for anyone in the Burtons to take advantage of you now. There are literally people out there who worship you in the family. In fact, if you want, we can appoint you as the patriarch of the family tomorrow. So there is nothing that ties you here anymore. Please come back with me to the Burton family, your family, and settle in your homeland instead of this little house. Mila interjected with her eyes full of anger. Billy Burton, I respect you, for we fought side by side and protected each other's backs at Castle Cytina battle. But you're starting to piss me off now. Second, Robin is afraid that he is unprotected and you are telling him to go somewhere more vulnerable? This is not what a sane person would say. Robin laughed. Haha, okay. Okay, you're both right. Actually, I'm also not completely deciding, but I'm just stating facts as it is and waiting for your advice. St. Edward, you seem to be a smart person. What do you think of all this? If you want my opinion, noble Robin, I say that your fears are based on an illusion, and that it is impossible for anyone to know anything about you. At this moment a voice came from outside. Mr. Robin Burton, His Highness Sage Albert Marley, invites you to visit him at the Imperial Palace as soon as possible. All those present in the room remained in their places without a word from the beginning of the announcement to its end. Some of them were surprised and some were frightened. As for Robin himself, he started laughing out loud and then looked back again at St. Edward. You were saying? St. Edward could not find anything to say. A feeling of intense embarrassment overwhelmed him after he failed to foresee the future as accurately as Robin had predicted it. Although anticipating the future and anticipating preventive measures is the general's first task. But that didn't stop him from admiring and respecting Robin even more. Robin then stood up and went to the door of his house. He found 5 people standing in front of him. With a quick look it was clear that they were all saints, and the person standing in the middle between them was a level 27 saint. Robin smiled at them and nodded. "Welcome to my humble house. I apologize for the time being. I'm in an important meeting. Please come in and rest in that house over there until I'm finished here, then I will come to meet you. Thank you." Robin pointed towards house 208 next door, then entered again without waiting for a reply and shut the door in their faces. The saints exchanged looks about the strangeness of what had just happened. But in the end, their chief raised his shoulder and headed towards house 208 in silence, and rest followed. Robin returned to his chair with an eyebrow knotted. He did not speak, and those present said something either, waiting for his reaction. At last, Robin finally spoke. "Please, I need one of you to call Duke Gallon here. He has returned to his palace about a week ago and sent a greeting to me. I want to see him as fast as possible. I think there are matters to be cleared here. I'm the fastest here. I'll go get him at once." Saint Edward stood up and quickly disappeared from the room. After a few seconds, Mila mustered up her courage and asked, "Robin, what do you mean by things you have to clear? You won't leave us, right?" Robin looked at her in astonishment. "Didn't you hear that summon call just now? Of course, I'm leaving. You know that's not what I mean." Robin chuckled. "Seconds ago I was open with you to see if I should leave or stay, but I think the heavens already have plans for me. I can't refuse Sage Albert's summon, so I'll have to leave, and I honestly can't find a reason to come back again. Do you have one for me? I am open for any recommendation." Billy sat there acting cool, but he was dancing inside. He just did not know where was Robin's next target, so he stayed silent and didn't push his luck. As for Mila, she couldn't find anything useful to say, so she fell silent again. What can she pursue him with? Protection? The royal family, who is familiar with him now, can definitely arrange for better protection for him. Maybe a better environment and human connection? The Burtons, his blood family, can offer him more than her. So she kept her silence until a few minutes later, 2 shadows entered the room, Saint Edward and Duke Gallon. "I didn't know that His Majesty Robin could summon this Duke whenever he wanted," Gallon said sarcastically and went to sit right in front of Robin. "Ha! I apologize, Your Highness, but I couldn't visit you myself because I have company in the other house, and they wouldn't be happy if I tried to sneak out on my own. I guess Saint Edward has told you about my visitors on your way here? TCH, don't remind me of this again. Those bastards think they can do whatever they want. I can't believe they went directly to you without consulting me." Duke Gallon spoke angrily. None of those present were stupid. Sage Albert wasn't summoning Robin randomly to recognize young talents. He absolutely found out who he is. Well, keeping me a secret was your job. For me, I have no objections about dealing with the royal family. As for you, you messed up, and I hope you understand what that means for you. Robin spoke with a smile. He was adding salt to injury, and he meant it. Gallon's face turned more ugly and shouted, "Damn it!" His voice was so loud that it stopped every activity in the institution for a few seconds, and scared the 5 saints next door witless. Of course, he knows what this new situation meant. Robin has a new priority now. If he makes something new, he has to sell it to the royal family first. He would only get the scraps, if there is any. Robin then continued, "Good that you know, your failure has made me obligated to deal with more powers. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. Just find whoever leaked my information and slaughter the bastard publicly for me. You think I don't want that? I will eat that traitorous dog's liver with my teeth. But who to find him? Arg, that will take time." When he got to this point, Gallon put his forehead on his hand. When he saw this, Robin didn't pressure him further, so he changed the subject. "Anyway, I got what you want." "What do you mean by what I want?" Finally, Gallon's hopes have been raised a bit. Robin gestured to Zara with his hand, and she was absent for a few seconds before returning carrying a medium-sized box and placing it in front of Robin. Then he opened the box and turned it so that everyone could see it. It was full of skins of a dark nature and bears a black drawing with the symbol 10S inside. This is what Mrs. Mila promised in exchange for Caesar's protection. You will find here 50 darkness talismans that give 10 seconds of disappearance, twice that of the previously agreed upon a period. I think that this is enough to cover the debt for saving Caesar. What do you think? The eyes of the three saints sparkled when they saw this scene. Galen, because he knows that these things are very precious, Mila and Edward, because they have experienced the power of the 5 seconds darkness talisman and know very well its strength and its impact on any course of the war. These talismans tipped the balance to the Black Sun Kingdom's favor in the knights' front when only 700 knights were facing an enemy of more than 1,000. Haha! Good, very good. So our old account will be closed here. Duke Galen finally found the heart to laugh and signaled to his daughter to take the box. But then he tilted his body in hope and asked with a big smile, "But what about our new account?" Robin knew what Duke Galen was talking about, so he smiled and pulled a little booklet out of his cloak and passed it on to Galen. Here you'll find the pattern that if you draw you'll get the explosive element. There are a few clear spaces in it that you can easily identify. When you fill them in you'll get what you want, and dash. Why didn't you draw it all? That wasn't our deal. Galen suddenly enters annoyed. No problem, if you want to detonate the booklet, then this will gladly complete the rest of the pattern for you. Robin extended his hand to retrieve the booklet. Galen was surprised and distanced the booklet away from Robin's hand. Huh? Why does a talisman only explode when passing energy and activating a seal then? Then let me finish. For God's sake. Look, on those empty spots a seal will be drawn between them and be set up in a way to be activated when needed. When activated, the seal will disappear and will complete those missing points in the process, which will result in a complete 6th-level explosion, which in turn will cause the explosion when it is combined with the energy of the user. Is it clear now? Ahem. Yeah, Galen replied, not really understanding, but it sounded smart. Robin continued explaining. Flip the pages of the booklet and you will find the seal I was talking about. There are explanations also about how to draw it and how to draw the main pattern. And you'll also find a third seal that makes the pattern and seal disappear without a trace inside the piece of the hide, so that it will not be easily copied by the enemy. Any questions? Galen did not reply. Instead, he eagerly browsed through the booklet. A cruel smile and an ambitious look began to appear on his face. These are the facial expressions of a man who feels that he is about to take over the world. When Robin saw this, he let out a low whistle and trotted his hand in front of Galen. Hey! How far your imaginations have taken you. Get back to the ground quickly before it's too late. Let me warn you. What you are thinking won't happen. Galen felt that he had taken a strong slap. The frown returned to his face, and asked sharply, "What do you mean by your words? According to our agreement, this technique is mine now and I can make the quantities of talismans I want, right or not?" Robin looked at Galen like he was looking at an idiot. "Do you really think that as long as I can make about 3,000 talismans a month, you'll be able to do the same? Though you can get some boys, and they would make you tens of thousands of talismans monthly?" When he heard that, Galen crushed the booklet in his hand and yelled, "Do you say I can't? Did you give me a false technique?" "Duke Galen, I don't need that kind of trickery. It just comes down to me being the creator of this technique and knowing everything about it like the back of my hand. There is another reason. I found out that drawing the pattern and the seals requires a certain amount of spiritual power. This energy will be drained even if you don't intend to use it. It will just run out and you will pass out when you exhaust yourself. This I have not found a solution for so far, as we know nothing about the soul and its powers. We just know it is there. As for me, heaven has blessed me with a soul strength far above average, at least. Until this moment, I have not found anyone with a soul stronger than mine. Not even you, Duke Galen. These two elements enable me to draw a huge amount of talismans daily. Even Zara, who has a spiritual energy that is somewhat close to me and I personally teach and supervise her, can produce about 6-10 fire talismans per day. So what about someone with a weaker soul who will learn the steps from just a booklet? According to my estimation, if someone with a soul slightly stronger than average follows this guideline, then I estimate that he will produce 1 talisman a day. Or 2 at most. Robin spoke without a break. What do you mean by all this? Have you been feeding me illusions all this time? Anger was evident in the Duke's features. The booklet in his hand is about to tear from the tight grip of his grip at any moment. First of all, I advise you to loosen your grip on the booklet because I will not write another one. Second, I am just explaining facts to you so that you do not go back and discover them yourself and then blame me. I am here explaining everything to you face to face and with respect. Of course, you can make your own factory for talismans, Duke Galen. Did I tell you that it is impossible? I'm just telling you that you first have to choose workers whose initial soul strength is stronger than usual. Be patient with them until they get used to the process and don't think they will get you instant results. Third and most important, choose reliable individuals you can control so that my invitation is not leaked, because if it leaks like my identity, let's just say that it will a problem in our future dealings. Galen had no response to the last sentence. 5 saints are waiting to take Caesar to the royal family against his will. He knows he failed Robin bad with this one. It was clear that a very close follower or even someone from his family leaked news about him. The second tip is also normal. He knew he couldn't get instant results. But the first, only saints and high-leveled knights have souls strong enough to know the level of the spiritual strength of a person in front of them. This soul strength was not regarded very highly before, as even someone with great soul strength might not have a good future in cultivation. Until this moment, a stronger soul was considered to give its owner a clearer mind that might help with his cultivation. This is why if a member of a big family has a stronger soul, he would be considered better than the one with a normal soul, but at the same time, no family would go out trying to recruit someone with this specific quality. But Robin's words now put those with stronger souls in a completely different position. He opened a new specialty for them. In the Bradley family, there are only 2 people who have above-average soul strength, but of course, according to Robin, this will not suffice to open a factory to feed an army. Getting saints and high-leveled knights to draw the talismans means that the duchy would be defenseless, so it's impossible. But also having saints and high-leveled knights walk around the streets exploring talents with powerful spirits was not practical. And even if they did find an extra one, they would have to confirm his eternal loyalty before handing him such a core technique. Now he understands Robin's words. He wasn't trying to scam him, but rather to try to bring him back to reality. This will never be easy. Heh, all right. With that, you have fulfilled your promise. Galen finally gave in and announced, finally relaxing his fist on the booklet. Robin smiled and nodded. Good. Now that all of our commitments to each other are over, there's nothing to bind us together. This sentence surprised Galen. What do you mean by no commitments? I don't like this. Actually, I was just talking to Aunt Mila and St. Edward about why I'm still here, and I really cannot find any more reason to stay, so... At this point, Robin fell silent and shrugged his shoulders. The meaning clear, and there was no need to speak further. If that's what you have decided, then I won't try to persuade you to return. I just hope that the lack of obligations between us doesn't mean a lack of relations either. We can still do a lot for each other. Don't you think? Galen said. Haha, of course, Duke Galen, when I need your help in the future I will come up with additional offers, but in return, if you want a good relationship with me, it won't be unconditional. It depends on what you can offer. Galen furrowed an eyebrow. What do you mean? Robin's smile vanished. When I needed you by my side, you didn't agree to help without me putting the fire talisman technique on the table. Yes? Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to say what you did was wrong in any sense. Anyone in your place would ask for the same, but it goes both ways. When I needed you, I compromised. If you want me to supply you with more of my creations, you also have to make some compromises. Galen gritted his teeth and asked, compromises like what? Haha, I will that to your imagination, and to how far you want to stay involved with me. Robin chuckled. The 3 Bradley saints looked at each other with meaningful looks, but no one said anything else. When Robin saw this, he nodded and continued with a smile. Okay then, as long as all the stumbling blocks between us are cleared. Excuse me. I'll go pack my bags and go see Sage Albert. This is not our agreement, Mila said wryly in a lowered voice. Robin was surprised by her words and furrowed an eyebrow. Sorry? What kind of deal are you talking about? I didn't agree to give you everything I create for free. That's not what you meant. You agreed with me that you would stay here at the institution for 5 years. You should at least honor your word." Mila's voice was very sharp and serious. It was clear that she was in a state of panic. Robin's features calmed down and he was silent for a few seconds. "This agreement was binding on your side. Not on me. I exempt you from this agreement. You no longer need to protect and provide for me for 5 years. But—" Mila was about to say something else, but her father put his hand on her shoulder and beckoned her not to continue this conversation. She had no choice but to bite her lips and stay silent. Robin stood up and took a few steps toward his room, then stood and looked back again. "Don't leave, Billy. You're going with me." This sentence made Billy very happy and even made the 3 saints of the Bradley family look at him with eyes full of envy. But in the end, they sighed and left one by one. 2 hours later, the house was completely stripped. Anything that belonged to Robin was put into boxes of different sizes. Papers, finished talismans, hides of beasts of different colors and origins. The house was like a small museum. After the 6 of them finished collecting everything in the house without leaving a straw, they headed to the next house. Robin opened the door and found the 5 saints sitting in the living room waiting as well. So he greeted them and said, "I hope you're not bored yet. Please wait a little while. I'm almost done." "Oh no, little brother. We are commanded to treat you with the utmost respect. You can do whatever you want, as long as you come with us eventually." The strongest of them responded with a smile. Robin nodded with a smile, and then, without saying another word, the 3 young men came from behind him with Zara and then Billy, and they started doing the same here. The 5 saints were very surprised by the scene in front of them. As they had come to invite Robin to meet their sage, they did not tell him that he would change his whole residence. In another half an hour they had gathered everything in boxes too and put them on an army wagon outside, which Billy had gone and fetched a while ago. When the loading process finally finished, Robin went to the 5 saints. "Okay, let's go." When the saints came out and saw the great wagon on which Robin sat, they knew that their bad luck had managed to get them this time. They came to take Robin alone on a solo trip that might last a few hours, but they got involved in a slow wagon that would take days or even weeks to reach the capital. But in the end, they sighted and accepted the reality. When Robin saw this, he chuckled and spoke with an enthusiastic voice. "Capital of the Black Sun. I'm coming." The trip from the Duchy of Bradley to the capital took a whole week. The little wagon pulled by 2 donkeys could hardly move. It was loaded with heavy boxes and hides, and on top of all that many people were sitting on it as well: Robin, Zara, the 3 young men, and the 6 saints too. The 5 escorts who were sent to accompany Robin to the capital and Billy. The entire road trip was somehow comedic. Many times did some bandits were tempted to attack the wagon when they see the young smiling Robin driving it. But when they tried to attack, well, the 3 boys had a lot of exercise along the road. Many times also the 6 saints were roaming in the air around the wagon to relax some weight from the 2 donkeys to hasten their pace. 6 flying men were extremely eye-catching. Most of the normal citizens never saw a saint before. Forget about 6 of them floating at slow speed. Many were terrified at the sight. Many simple-minded prostrated on the ground and started worshipping the passing gods. "Wow!" Zara marveled at the sight in front of her. Finally, after many unexpected adventures on the little road trip, the capital appeared in front of them. The high, thick walls, the flags that fluttered over the huge gates, the guards standing in their shining armor, everything aroused a sense of awe and respect. One of the 5 saints stood upon seeing these walls. "I will go pave the way for the wagon and inform His Highness about the presence of Sire Robin." Then he soared and headed straight towards the gate. As for the chief of the escorts, he looked at Robin with a smile. "I am sure you will like this visit, and you will surely like Sage Albert, Mr. Robin, as he also most certainly respects you, although I don't know why this is. It was evident in the way in which we commanded to treat you." Robin smiled but didn't say anything. He knew very well what this respect was for. The sage surely knows about him and his abilities to some extent. If he doesn't respect someone like Robin, then who else could he possibly respect? The wagon quickly reached the gate and passed it unhindered and then headed directly towards the royal palace. Not a single soldier or passerby saw the boor-looking wagon entering the royal palace inner zone and was not surprised by what was happening. This is a place that every high-ranking officer or high-leveled knight would die to enter someday. But they never will. Only a select few can have this honor. So even the 5 escorts were embarrassed when entering the massive royal palace inner zone in such a way. But it is not the first time they got embarrassed since the start of this trip anyway. At last, the carriage arrived in front of the mansion that was dedicated to Sage Albert and found the saint who had left them earlier was waiting. "Come with me, Mr. Robin. His Highness is waiting for you." "Wait a moment." Robin got off the carriage and turned to search among the boxes until he pulled out a certain box that he had collected himself previously, and then advanced toward the saint again. "Okay, I'm ready. Let's go, guys." When Caesar and the rest took a few steps to follow behind Robin, one of the saints hurried and stood between them and spoke. No, this should be a private conversation, not a party. Mr. Robin, please go ahead. I'll arrange a good residence for your companions." Robin nodded. You're right. Don't forget to take care of the donkeys too." Then he turned and continued behind the saint, carrying his little box. Equals 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 equals. Robin walked behind the saint for a few minutes into the huge building. With every step he took, he turned around and noticed everything passing by. The building is simply a huge museum. Even the tiles and ceiling are full of rare stones and great drawings. He finally arrived in front of a huge gate, and the saint knocked twice. Knock, knock. "Enter." A calm, strong voice came from behind the door. The saint pushed the gate and made a complete bow straight away. Robin came out from behind the saint to find in front of him a person who appeared to be in his 60s. But his eyes were focused and his great strength was evident on him even though he was concealing his aura. With one look, Robin knew that he was on a sage-level figure, someone who could stand on top of this planet. He also bowed slightly. "This junior salutes you, Sage Albert. Come sit in front of me, little Robin." The sage nodded with a smile when he saw this, then addressed his words to the saint. "Leave us." The saint, still in a bowing position, retreated and closed the door again. A few seconds had passed since Robin sat down in front of Sage Albert. Robin remained silent, waiting for the sage to start what he wanted to talk about, while the sage himself was looking at Robin from top to bottom with strange looks. Then he sighed and exclaimed, "Amazing, amazing. May I ask what is so amazing, Your Highness?" Robin asked with a smile. "My sources say that you are the same Robin Burton who is supposed to be a century and a half old. But you have the body of a young man, no doubt about that. Even as a sage, I can't find a loophole to know your real age." Robin chuckled. "Why are you sure I'm that same Robin then? Maybe I'm Caesar's older brother and Robin Burton is my teacher too. Don't even try, I have plenty of evidence and witnesses for your identity and that you are the source of all these talismans things and that you are even the source of those pills sold at the annual auction of the Duchy of Bradley. Let me tell you, you are very bad at keeping yourself hidden. I can't believe that you let all those saints and knights know who you were. As long as you were trying to hide, did you think they were angels and would keep the secret? Maybe you are the one who misunderstood me, Your Highness." "And how is that exactly?" Sage Albert asked with interest. He really wanted to find everything possible about this young man who changed everything he knew about wars forever. "If I really wanted to hide, I would have lived like a normal kid in an alley, and I wouldn't have gone to the Bradley family in the first place. If I really wanted to hide, I wouldn't use my same name, I wouldn't announce the name Caesar Burton in front of the crowd, and I wouldn't allow my family to announce that I was still alive." The sage furrowed his eyebrows slightly. "Are you telling me you didn't try to hide your identity?" "I tried, but that is relative to the situation. Since you already know everything about me, let me explain my point to you. All I am doing is to make a stable footing on the higher level before I took the next step. For example, in the beginning, I demonstrated my usefulness to the Bradley family through the white flame technique and through fire talismans before I tried to make business with them. And I demonstrated to the Burton family my usefulness through all of the above in addition to relying on the strength of the Bradley family and through dark talismans. And now what? The wise said it forcefully. "Ha. Please do not jump to conclusions before I finish speaking, Your Highness. I'm not a fool to say my family Burton and Bradley are protecting me or something. I know you have the ultimate power. It is true that this meeting came a little earlier than I expected. But I'm not afraid. Let's say that Your Highness knows what I can do for this kingdom, and I have good faith that you won't treat me badly." The frown on the sage's face disintegrated and laughed for the first time since the meeting began. "Right, you have done a great service to the Black Sun Kingdom, and you are here to talk more about other ways you can benefit the kingdom." At this point, Robin leaned back on the chair completely and spoke confidently. "Of course, I can extend my cooperation to the Black Sun Kingdom's royal family as well. But I have conditions." Wise Albert narrowed his eyes when he heard Robin's words, as he certainly was not accustomed to seeing a child under 150 speaking so confidently in his presence. "And what are your conditions exactly, Your Majesty?" "Ha. You got ahead of things again, Your Highness. My conditions are simple and won't cost you anything. For example, my first condition is, kill those who leaked any information about me to you. Kill them all." "What did you say?" The sage suddenly raised his voice, even emitting a portion of his aura pressed against Robin. "You think I'll reward those who heed my orders and help me by killing them? Who do you think I am?" "Please calm down, Your Highness. Please think about it. Whoever gathered my personal information and exposed me to your intelligence network is most likely one of those knights who came to my house from the Bradley family. Killing a knight or two from another family will not lessen your power and prestige by any means. Even Duke Gallon himself expressed that he wants to kill them but has no means to identify them. Above all of that, I'm telling you to do it secretly and not publicly, so your reputation will not be affected." "Why?" the sage asked when he noticed that Robin was serious. "Whoever betrayed once will betray twice. That person will leak this news about me to other families to make more money. And this I don't want right now. I'm not ready for global fame yet. It's enough for me to deal with Your Highness and the Bradley family. So please make sure to shut the mouths of those who revealed my secret. Whoever they are or how many they are. 1, 2, 100. Kill them all. Not only that. Use your intelligence network to block any information about me from the rest of the families and the rest of the kingdoms, as I'm pretty sure they are all trying to find out my identity just like Your Highness did. Please do not take it like I'm giving orders or something. This will be useful to you even more than it is useful to me. I would not be affected much if I had to deal with more business partners. At most, it will mess up my schedule or delay my personal plans a few years. But if you want fruitful cooperation between us, then we have to make it simple and direct. You do not want me to be exposed and pressured from all sides, right? I'm not telling you to block my secret forever. I know it is impossible to keep this promise. I just want you to just make it as hard as possible. Every second that passes while I'm hidden is a second in our favor. So please extend that peaceful period as long as possible for us." Robin spoke with a smile. Sage Albert remained silent for a few seconds. "That boy wants me to dedicate the entire Royal Intelligence Network for his sake." But after a little thought, he found that what Robin is asking for would benefit him too, as what really benefited the Bradleys and the Burtons is that they used Robin without anyone else knowing. "Do you have other conditions?" "Yes, I have. Please excuse me and be patient with me. My second condition is that the relationship with the royal family will be a business relationship and not a dependency one. I'm sure Your Highness has heard about my relations with the two families. I want that to be extended to the royal family too." Signs of anger appeared in the eyes of Sage Albert. "What next?" "Ahem. I want permanent protection around me. I ask for a couple of high-leveled saints or so. This will also benefit you. If one of the other kingdoms reaches my residence, they will surely try to assassinate me to stop me from helping my glorious Black Sun Kingdom from becoming stronger. But of course, I know that hiring such high-level figures is not easy, so this condition in particular will not be for free. For this very condition, I will give you special discounts compared to any other current or future business partner." "What else?" asked the sage in a cold voice. Seeing Sage Albert behaving in this way, Robin hesitated a little before continuing. "I want an official certificate that the Burton family has become a Marquis family now, and and I want a written promise from you that the royal family will not interfere in any internal wars in which the Burton family will be part in for the next 50 years. The sage couldn't maintain his cool any longer and shouted, "What did you say? You ask permission to wreak havoc in the kingdom without supervision? You think you are too big for us to question now." Actually, if someone else had requested this request, the sage would have agreed directly without many thoughts. As what can one family do with such a written promise? Not even a duke's family would benefit anything from it. But the Burton family, who has Robin in their ranks, is another case. To have such permission for 50 years means, Robin hastily replied, "Your Highness, during the last 1,000 years or so, I have been the one who has added to the kingdom the largest piece of land, raising the Black Sun Kingdom's flags over a half-duchy of the enemies. Isn't that right? My contribution to the kingdom, whether you consider lands or reputation, goes beyond many of the so-called duke families. Apart from our business cooperation, don't you think my request is only normal based on the contributions of the Burton family? What's the problem if you ever try to take some land around the Burton family? This will not harm the royal family in any way, as this will remain your kingdom and your lands in the end." I honestly didn't anticipate your reaction. Internal wars almost never stop. I just wanted to clear things so we don't have to have such a discussion later. Why do you mind thin? The sage couldn't control his temper any longer and shouted forcefully, "Stop this nonsense. A written promise like that added to the Burton family's infinite amount of talismans. You can control half the kingdom in the next 50 years. You think I'm a fool for declaring the appearance of a second royal family within the Black Sun? I think you have a good point. Then how about this? The written promise will be limited to those who provoke me personally or the Burton family as a whole. I will give you evidence of these provocations if you need them, but if there is such provocation or enmity, then the royal family will absolutely not intervene. Please note that I have no intention of controlling the kingdom internally. Why do I need to make such plots for your lands? As you yourself saw, Your Highness, I can double the size of the Black Sun realm if I wanted to, and if I have the time, who knows? Maybe we'll become an empire one day." Robin's last words sent a shiver through the whole body of the wise Albert and opened new horizons for him. Right, why not? Dolliver wanted to expand based on the illusion that they were strong, but now the Black Sun has real, tangible strength. What prevents them from following the same path? The sage quickly returned to normal attitude and gave Robin a long, meaningful look. Why would he ask for such a promise in the first place? What do you intend to do with it? There is someone who needs to be disciplined, Robin replied plainly. Seeing Robin refuse to talk more about the matter, Sage Albert also avoided the topic. Do you have other conditions? If I had more conditions, I would be insensitive. Haha. Do I understand from your question that you agreed, Your Highness? The sage put one leg on top of the other and spoke confidently. It depends on what you can provide for me in this business. Robin nodded. That's fair enough. Then let me show you some of my toys. Robin rose from his seat and put the box he had been carrying all along on the table in front of the sage and began to unpack its contents. First, he took out a crimson piece of beast hide at the size of a bomb. The sage reached out his hand and received the piece of skin with a big smile. Of course, he knew what this was. This little piece of skin was the pride of the Black Sun Kingdom. The sage nodded and was just about to start negotiating, when Robin took out another piece of darker skin and spoke. This is called the Darkness Talisman. It can hide a person for 5 seconds. It was the main reason for winning the night's battle. That is what I was told at least. Features of astonishment appeared on the face of the sage, as he did not know the existence of this talisman. He had heard about the events of the war, which were full of details about the talismans of fire only. It was the only tangible talisman that the scouts saw and reported. Then he heard from his intelligence that the source of these talismans was Robin. But that was all. He did not know anything else. Is that why Dolliver's knights have been falling like dead flies throughout the battle? The saint stretched out his hand and grabbed the talisman quickly and checked it out like a little child examine a new toy. His great astonishment surprised Robin himself so that he looked at him in surprise and said, I got to say, I really am a failure when it comes to hiding, and it is clear that Your Highness is a failure yourself when it comes to gathering intelligence as well. Then the sage realized the extent of his reaction, so he returned to his first sitting way. Aha, the time was very short to collect all the evidence. As soon as we confirmed your identity, I called you immediately. Hey, do you have anything else? Finally, anticipation began to fill the eyes of the sage. Previously, he was about to start negotiating with Robin over the talismans of fire, and maybe he could pull out some spirit-revitalizing pills out of him too. Although he will not benefit anything from these pills, they will still help many royal family knights and saints to increase their level. Anyway, as I said, those darkness talismans can hide anyone for 5 seconds, but it will be less effective for those with high soul powers like the saints of high-leveled knights or even those who were born with strong souls like me. It caught the saints of Doliver of Guard twice because they weren't trying to use their soul power to search. But it won't much in the future, so I advise you to keep them for low-leveled knights or the middle-leveled ones at most. Robin then put his hand back into the box and took out a green-colored hide. This is a vitality talisman. It can give a person 10 days of natural healing instantly. It's an extra life for anyone who enters a battlefield. The sage received the green talisman from Robin's hand with great awe. If this talisman had previously existed, he could have saved many of his family members, but it wasn't too surprising as with the darkness talisman, as he had heard of something that was making saints and knights able to forget their severe wounds and continue fighting. But only now did he know that it was also a talisman, with such wonderful properties. Only now everything that happened in the last battle made sense. Sywell, now you offered me your goods. How do you intend to supply it to me? I'm not done yet. Ha! Sage Albert was very surprised, as no evidence of the existence of another type of talisman appeared in the events of the battle. Robin put his hand back into the box and pulled out 2 rings made of metal. On top of the ring is a somewhat wide squared base with cool-looking symbols on it. It looks like a regular ring that can be bought from any accessory store. Robin raised them high while fixing his eyes on them and said, "This is my last and greatest invention to date." Robin's words struck the sage Albert like a thunderbolt. After all of what he had seen so far, and this was the greatest he had accomplished? What is it? The sage leaned forward a little and stared at all the details of the ring and the beautiful inscriptions on it. But he did not understand anything. What does this ring do? What do these symbols refer to? Oh, you mean those engravings? It is nothing, don't mind it. It is just a regular ring I bought from a store near the institution earlier. The sage did not expect this answer. Then he asked without patience, "Then what is the use of the ring?" It's better not to use words here. No matter how much I talk about it, it won't be as good as actually experiencing what it does. Why don't we put them to test before we continue speaking? Please let some saint take one of the rings and go somewhere far from here. Far? How far exactly? The wise man was surprised by Robin's request. As far as possible. As we do not have time, I'll start the test in 5 minutes. I guess 5 minutes is enough for an average saint to travel tens of kilometers. Forget about an average saint, I'll do it. Give me this ring. Sage Albert took one of the 2 rings and disappeared. Robin didn't expect what happened. He looked around and it was absolute silence. He was all alone in a room full of treasures and antiques. He didn't know whether the sage trusted him to such a degree, or that he knew that Robin would not dare touch anything. After 4 minutes and 50 seconds, some more than 200 kilometers from Robin, Sage Albert finally stopped his crazed flying and stopped on top of a mountain outside the royal capital, prepared for this interesting experiment. All the way he was trying to guess what this ring might do. Would it explode remotely? Would it make him faster? The 3 talismans that Robin was able to make were so different in essence and applications that it was near impossible to predict what he would leave next. A second, 2. It was one of the very few times in his life that he felt that time was not moving fast enough. Asterisk tuck. Tuck. Asterisk. The 5 minutes passed a few seconds ago and nothing happened. The sage began to feel silly. He jumped to try a thing from a 150-year-old kid without even thinking. You better not be messing with me. Finally, the ring began to glow faintly and give a poking itchy feeling on his finger. Automatically, he passed some energy into that area to see what was happening. At this moment, he heard a human voice in his ear. Hello. Test. Test. Mr. Sage, do you hear me? If you can hear me, come back and please bring me something to eat with you. Some grilled blood peacock meat would be perfect. I haven't eaten anything decent in days and I have to negotiate with you. Do you know how tiring this is? Have some good manners for your guests. Please? The sage from shock took 2 steps back involuntarily and turned around to look in every direction trying to identify the source of this voice. This was Robin's voice. But he quickly gave up trying to find him. No one knows how fast he moved better than him, that only an equal-leveled or a stronger sage could follow him without him noticing. But there is no way that another sage would be too free to bring Robin on his back and hide around to make a prank on him. The sage pounced from the ground so hard that the rock under his feet turned to dust and sped towards Robin at full speed. For minutes later, swoosh, a strong sound of wind came through the window and Sage Albert suddenly appeared in front of Robin, with red eyes and a tingly face like a ghost, and began to shout, "What magic is this? How did your voice reach my ears?" Robin also looked angry and got up and shouted, "Where the hell is my grilled blood peacock?" Sage Albert's turned into a poker face, partially surprised, partially trying to pressure Robin. He came in a scary momentum to make Robin submit everything he knows. Not in a million years the sage anticipated such a reaction from Robin. But he knows that Robin responded in this way to lighten the atmosphere again and absorb the heat of the situation and regain the peaceful, controllable atmosphere again. Knowing that he lost this round, Albert dispersed his aura and sat down. His expression turned into a smile and a chuckle. Then he said, "I apologize for my behavior a little while ago. I controlled my feelings a little. You can start to explain in your own way. I wasn't joking. Get me something to eat. I'm starving here." "Eh? Oh, servant. Have a great feast in honor of our guests. Don't forget the grilled blood peacock. Make some grilled blood peacock. Ahem. Can we continue our talk now?" Robin nodded with a smile and spoke. "Well, Your Highness, a while ago I heard about the suffering of transmitting information to long distances and the difficulty of communication in general. As you know, the Information Transfer Department and scouting in general can destroy or save armies, so I thought of an innovation directed to this field. In general, I have researched several paths, and one of those paths is the wind heavenly path. One of the minor heavenly laws of this path is the minor heavenly law of sound. After researching it for some time, I discovered that sounds are actually just waves that travel through the wind and depend entirely on it. And that was it. After another few days of research, I was able to make 2 talismans connected together. When you speak through one of them, the talisman strengthens and speeds up the sound waves in the direction of the other talisman. You could say it's a fixed channel of communication. Sage Albert widened his eyes to the extreme. You say that you did this by comprehending the minor law of sound? A law that does not even have a technique in the Wind Empire. Robin raised his eyebrows in surprise. Is it okay for me to make all these talismans that no one has ever thought of before me? But it's hard for you to believe that I discovered and studied minor law? That's different. I don't know how you made your talismans, but I know damn well how to explore and use unknown minor laws. I tried a few times and gave up. My cousin is stronger and sharper than me when it comes to exploring new laws. So I vowed to take care of the kingdom, and he took this heavy responsibility upon himself, and has been in seclusion for 30 years to unfold another minor law in the path of fire in order to strengthen the kingdom with it. But you are talking about discovering the law of the second sound as if it were nothing. Wait, does this mean that all your talismans are undiscovered minor laws? Sage Albert felt he was going crazy. Robin knows his cousin means Philip, the current king of the Kingdom of the Black Sun. Robin finally knew that he had made a huge mistake. He was taking things too freely. Robin furrowed his forehead with his hand for a few seconds as he looked at the person who was eager for an answer in front of him, then sighed and spoke. I was born with a special talent that enables me to discover laws faster than usual. Is that enough for you? How fast? Fast enough that I've discovered a few laws so far, but I cannot give you a certain period of time as it differs from law to law. Robin shrugged his shoulders. If he told the sage that he already had the keys to understand and write the techniques for hundreds of minor, heavenly laws before he even discovered the law of truth in full, Well, he better not. Amazing. Really amazing. So these talismans are applications of minor laws. How do you do this? Why has no one before you has been able to use the laws in this way? The sage's interest in talismans and Robin rose a few degrees at once. Yes, these are just applications to laws. For your second question, ask them, how should I know why they did not find out? I told you now that it is possible. Can you go and make a talisman using your minor law? No. Can we please go back to our topic now? I am starving. Robin was starting to get annoyed. Oh, of course you can go on. Sage Albert calmed him down, and a slight smile returned to his face. This young man is much more than what he has anticipated. Just a few minutes ago he wanted to use him to make fire talismans, but now he appeared to be much more than that. Every hour he is alive is another hour of revolutionary discoveries in every field of life. He finally understood why the Bradleys were treating him with such respect and even went to war for him. Ahem, these rings come with a little space inside, so I put in each ring a small talisman. It is very small and it is used repeatedly, so I figured it would be better to put it a permanent carrier, so the ring itself is not important. You can say that works like a small box. In order for the communication channel to work, there must be a twin talisman and each one be inserted in one of the rings. The two ring bearers can communicate easily after passing enough energy in the talisman inside the ring, and for the sender to activate a certain seal before speaking. Do you have any questions, Your Highness? What is the maximum range of communication between these rings? What is the seal that must be done before using the talisman, and how can I manufacture them? There is no upper limit for the range, at least so far I can't think of a reason why there should be a maximum distance. The thing is that the time it takes a message to arrive at the other side will be delayed the farther away from the other twin ring. The delivery is not instant. The rings direct and speed up the waves only. So if someone in a very far place uses the ring, the message might reach the twin ring after an hour or two. As for the seal, I'll tell you when today's deal is done. If we don't agree, I won't gain anything from giving you the key to use the rings. Don't you think that's appropriate? As for how to manufacture them, you simply can't. The sage's joy with the first answer gradually faded until Robin reached the last word. What do you mean I can't manufacture it? We are going to negotiate the purchase of ways to draw these talismans today. I can sell you talismans and rings and maybe sell certain other things, but tell you, are they made? With all due respect, forget about it. Robin flatly refused. Sage Albert furrowed his eyebrows and looked genuinely angry. Is that a final answer? Robin was taken aback by his reaction, but replied steadily, Ahem, everything is negotiable, but there are things that money alone can't buy. Oh? Then what do you suggest I can use to buy it with? Duke Galen bought the fire talisman manufacturing method by throwing himself into a war and handing me half a duchy willingly. You are asking me what would you use to buy me methods? It depends on how much you value it. Are you saying that Galen doesn't have the methods for making darkness and vitality talismans? He only has the method for making the talisman of fire, and he only took it by participating in the war. Sage Albert was very surprised by this. He thought Galen was controlling Robin to some extent up to this point. He was literally living under his nose. Of course. Robin nodded. Sage Albert sighed. Then what do you propose in exchange for the long, hard conditions that you recited to me a little while ago? Selling me a few talismans surely will not suffice. Robin clicked on his seat for a few seconds thinking of a suitable offer. The problem is that the sage's expectations were too high, and he can't be intimidated like when he used the Burtons and the Bradleys against each other. If he gave him a weak offer like sending him 100 talismans a month or so, he would invite disaster for himself. Finally, Robin spoke. Frankly, I can't supply you with large quantities of talismans right now. The amount that I made for the war has almost destroyed my spiritual strength, and I can't continue at this rate. And I am not dedicated to manufacturing. I want to devote myself to innovation. Tell you what, give me 5 years. After 5 years, I will supply the royal family with decent quantities. The sage felt disappointed hearing this. All those conditions that you want from me, and in the end, you tell me to be patient for 5 years? Forget about fulfilling your conditions. You don't even deserve the grilled blood peacock you asked for. Robin chuckled. Knowing that the sage was trying to be as calm as possible, but he wouldn't be so kind and understanding forever. I know that your highness brought me to talk about the talismans, but our conversation gave me an idea that might be satisfactory to both of us. You said that His Majesty is spending decades in seclusion researching for a minor law in the fire path. Right? And want one? The sage's eyes widened and he quickly replied, Speak more. It just so happens that I currently have knowledge of a minor law of fire. I haven't figured out the technique for using it yet, but I have the keys to writing this technique. I can write it down for you. I believe that a sage can complete the rest of the technique in a few months. Keys to a minor heavenly law. This is much greater than just discovering it. This means that Robin researched it and collected many of its essence and truth. The Black Sun Kingdom has one minor law that reached the third stage, which is the one the royal family is using. Other than that only third stage minor law, the kingdom relied heavily on just 5 minor laws that reached the second stage and a few first stage laws to give them their current status in the world. If they had an extra one, Sage Albert wanted to shout with all his soul that he agrees, but he quelled his eagerness and replied calmly, But that is not enough to meet all your conditions. Robin's heart fell to his feet. He didn't expect his offer to be rejected. Looks like I overestimated the offer. Then he spoke quickly. Then what do you think about this? During the 5 years I requested, every year I will provide you with keys to a minor law in the path of fire. Do we have a deal? 5. Sage Albert couldn't play calm and control himself any longer. The mask that he tried to wear had fallen off after Robin's words. Your Highness, are you okay? Robin was surprised by his reaction. A while ago he was saying that the offer was not good enough and inappropriate. It is not possible that it is still inappropriate to the degree that it stunned him, right? Ahem. You said. You're going to give me 5 keys to 5 minor heavenly laws of the fire path. The sage man restrained himself a little and asked. That's right, but not right now. It just happens that I knew of one now. As for the rest I need time to research. Every year I will give you the keys to 1 minor heavenly. Robin nodded. In fact, Robin could easily write him dozens of minor heavenly laws keys while he was sitting now. Partly because he already had researched and gathered the keys to hundreds of minor heavenly laws from different paths since his time at the cave. The other reason is that he himself has mastered the first stage of the major law of fire. He has the original in his pocket, the source from which all the other minor heavenly fire laws branch out. So even if he didn't have those keys before, he could easily translate the major heavenly law of fire into a myriad of minor laws at any time. There are a few reasons why he asked for this pause between the delivery of every key, the most important of which is to make the sage Albert aware of his own importance and what he can do, given enough time and ease of mind, and that if he pressures him or tries to extract something from him by force now, he will not benefit from the huge possibilities in the future. What about the second stage of those laws? Can you make them too? Sage Albert did not expect much out of this question. Researching the second stage of a law is much more difficult than the first stage, but he saw an open treasure in front of him and decided to push his luck further and see his limits. The first stage of the heavenly law is what is used to make the pillars of the knighthood, so without the first stage of heavenly law, it is impossible to enter level 11. The second stage of heavenly laws is what makes a saint. It is impossible to enter level 21 without the second stage of the same heavenly law with which the 11th level pillars were made off. As for the third stage, there are only 13 minor heavenly law techniques of this caliber in the world. 8 of them are in the 8 kingdoms, to be more precise, with the royal families of the 8 kingdoms. The third stage of a heavenly law technique is the minimum requirement for someone to break through the sainthood shackles and become a sage. This is precisely why there is a huge rift that cannot be bridged between the common citizens and the noble families, and the royal families. Obtaining a minor heavenly law technique is not easy, let alone obtaining a law at the second level, to say the least about the third level. The third stage of a heavenly minor law is what defines a royal family. Of course, these minor heavenly law techniques were not present when the first cultivator began his journey. It is something that is pursued every day and every minute. It is not written in stones. There are geniuses throughout history who were able to cross this gap by discovering the next level of law with their own comprehension and special abilities. But this is very difficult. and the method that this person uses to advance might not fit another, and therefore cannot be generalized to the rest of the family most of the time. But those who find their way and can write a decent technique with well-detailed, organized, and logical steps, those are the chosen sons of the world, are the ancestors of all the noble families present today. The second stage. The second stage. So far Robin hasn't made the second level out of anything he's discovered. There was simply no need to do it since he didn't even use the first stage to make his pillars, nor did any one of those who are relying on him. After thinking for a few seconds, Robin said, "Why the hell not? The first stage of the 5 laws will be in exchange for protecting me and fulfilling my conditions. In addition to a payment of 500,000 gold coins, you will pay me annually for the 5 years. If you agree to this, I will give you the possibility to buy the second level of those heavenly fire law techniques later at a reasonable price. What do you think of this?" "Agreed." Wise Albert quickly reached out and grabbed Robin's hand and shook it, sealing the deal before he spoke again. Paying 500,000 gold coins for a heavenly fire law technique key was nothing, and he did not doubt for a moment the credibility of Robin that he would do what he said. The whole world saw for themselves what this young man could do. After the handshake was done, the sage felt that something was missing, and after he came to his senses after being overzealous, he quickly asked, "Oh right, won't I be able to buy anything from you in 5 years? How about that ring?" "As I said, I can't produce talismans in large quantities for commercial purposes, yet I have something to focus on, and now I'm even busier than ever thanks to the keys you want. These will be more than enough to bind me for 5 years, but I can sell you a few sound rings." "Only the rings?" It's okay. How much?" "I will sell you each set of 2 rings for 20,000 gold coins." Robin calmly replied, "What dash? That's too much." The happiness that appeared on his face a while ago disappeared, and the sage returned to the negotiation mode in a moment. "I will not accept a negotiation in this. You must know the value of this innovation, Your Highness. It is true that rings cannot be used forever, but they can be used many times before the talismans wear out inside the ring and need replacement, so you can think that you will buy every time you connect with 100 gold. No, I think it might actually be much cheaper per usage. If you give a ring to your son, you will know if he is in danger. You will always rest assured of the heart. If you use it in the war, the instant communication between the general and the scout squad can be the difference between life and death. With this innovation, you can turn defeat into victory or annihilate entire armies by following the enemy's movements with extreme accuracy. From your office, you can follow everything that is going on in the kingdom around you and issue orders to be activated immediately. The control of the royal family will be truly absolute. Honestly, thinking about all this, I feel like losing at this price. I will sell you the pair for 100,000 gold coins." Sage Albert was startled when he heard Robin's final words and shouted, "No! A man must hold to his word. You cannot change the price now. I was joking with you a while ago. Of course I accept. I will pay 20,000 gold coins." When he heard all those possibilities in succession, he knew he had badly underestimated the value of these rings. Robin was not selling the metal ring itself nor the small hide inside. He was selling him the future. Not speaking about a mere 20,000 for the pair of rings. If yesterday someone came to sell the pair of rings for 1 million or 2 million, he would have agreed at once. But he knew that the rings are far from being unique. Robin can make countless numbers of them. That's why he was initially trying to lower the price, to pave the future in order to buy large quantities of them. But this also reassured the sage, as it seems that Robin has no intention of making that many rings in the end, as if he did plan to mass-produce them, he would have lowered the price by much. "Excellent. I'll stay here for 2 more days and write you the first keys to the first minor heavenly fire law, and I'll leave these 2 rings with you. When the time comes to leave after the 2 days, I expect to take 520,000 gold coins with me, and to be escorted by a few high-leveled saints to protect me from now on. Do we have a deal?" "Haha, of course we have a deal. Hooey, Robin, why don't you stay here in the royal palace? You don't need to go back to live at Bradley Military Institution anymore. I can provide you with whatever you could ask for. Safety, resources, peace of mind. This will be the best possible environment for you. What do you think?" Sage Albert spoke with 2 shining eyes. However he looks at it, Robin is a treasure. Whether his ability to discover the keys to minor laws, or his ability to adapt these laws to work in talismans, Robin's appearance has simply painted for him a completely different future for the kingdom. I think there is a misunderstanding here. I will not return to the Duchy of Bradley, but to Jura City. The sage furrowed his eyebrow. Ha? You are planning to live with the Burtons? That is even worse. At least the Bradleys have relatively good defenses. And here comes the reason of one of my conditions that you have already agreed on, Your Highness. Wouldn't I be safe when you send a few saints dedicated to protecting me all the time? As for the resources, I will have enough gold to buy what I want when I sell you a few rings and laws. Ha ha ha. Ha. Sai, I don't know how to explain it to you, Your Highness. When I was subjected to assassination attempts inside Bradley's military institution, I felt that I would die alone and worthless. If Duke Galen came and seen my dead body, he would have been angry because he lost a good ally. But that's it. This was a wake-up call for me because whatever I do to the Bradleys or to you, I'll end up being just a useful thing. I am not saying that the Burton family are angels. There were indeed those who tried to take advantage of me when I was still young, and if I had gone to them with my discoveries first, I might not have seen the light of the sun again. But there are also those who loved me unconditionally because what runs through our veins is the same blood, like my friend Billy and Uncle Murphy. As long as I have your protection, I can be sure that I am safe from the bad ones between them, but at the same time, I want to live between the good ones there who view me not just like an asset, but as a family member. I wonder if you understand me? Sai, I don't know why I talk too much, hee. Excuse me. After a few seconds, the sage nodded. Sai, I understand. It's okay. As you wish. I will send behind you those who would make you sleep like a baby without any fear. Live happily and safely, my little friend. You have to be comfortable enough to give me good results, haha. Robin continued his talk with Sage Albert about the number of rings he will sell in the future and some of their features and the possibility of developing them for better versions. In the end, the two of them went to the banquet hall, satisfied with the outcome of this long meeting. When they reached the room, Caesar and Billy and the rest of the company were waiting for them. The sage got to know them all and treated them with extra kindness as if they were part of his ken. One would go further to say he treated them as almost equals, even though in his eyes they were just babies. However, they all knew that this was what Robin's status had brought them. After the banquet ended, Robin went to the room that had been prepared for him and began writing the keys to a minor heavenly law related to the path of fire. He made sure to choose a minor heavenly law that is a little stronger than the strongest minor heavenly law that currently exists in the kingdom of the Black Sun. For the next 2 days, Robin stayed in his room, faking that he is writing the keys to the law. He had already written it in minutes as he already knows the major heavenly law of fire by heart, but he asked for extra time to show that he is struggling, not knowing that writing it in just 2 days was already fascinating to the sage. Meanwhile, Billy took the 3 boys and Zara on tours around the royal capital. The 4 of them had never seen the royal capital before, so the tour was likable and interesting to them. Even Billy himself had only been to the capital only a few times in his long life. The 2 days passed in intense shopping and jumping from store to store and from garden to garden. Zara's innocent laughter brought smiles to even Peon and Theo, who witnessed hell on earth. After the 2 days were over, Robin handed Sage Albert the minor heavenly law keys booklet, then took the 520,000 gold coins on his carriage and took the document proving that Brian Burton had become Marquis and legally assigned the new lands to the Burtons, and signed promise about interfering in the Burtons' incoming wars. Then he took the 4 children and Billy. Then with a ha the 2 donkeys buled the wagon to its new destination. Excited quick steps resounded throughout the royal palace, while a burly shadow passed by with a big excited smile on his face. Every guard, a servant, or even a saint that saw him passing by would bow to him. At last, the shadow came towards a huge door, opened it to reveal unending stairs leading down, and began to descend immediately. The stairs were small and broken, steep and moist. Many spiders and mice scattered around. It is hard to guess the last time someone came down these ancient stairs. After a few minutes of going down, the shadow finally arrived at the last of the stairs, where there is a very spacious area lit by fire torches hanging on the wall. There is nothing in the place but a small desk with a number of scrolls and lying next to it on the floor a huge amount of books. And in the middle of the spacious area sitting a person, who wears nothing but a cover over his privates. His features were masculine and majestic, even though he appeared as if he is in his 50s. His body was strong and muscular as a mountain, and his aura made those looking at him stop breathing, without even trying to make a move. It appears as if an ancient giant standing in front of you. The sitting man suddenly opened his eyes and his aura exploded even more and looked at the shadow that had just arrived. Then spoke in a strong tone that shook the space itself. "Albert, what brings you here? Didn't I tell you no one to bother me until I go out myself?" Sage Albert bowed slightly and spoke. "I apologize, Your Majesty, but I have something important for you to see." This was the king of the Black Sun Kingdom, Philip Marley. When he heard the words of Sage Albert, he furrowed his brow. "What important thing is that you interrupt my meditation on the heavenly laws for? Have the wretched Dalivarians shown their true intention at last? Did they make a move? Have you managed to find out the identity of their allies?" This conversation will be longer than expected. I will tell you about Daliver in a minute. Just first take a look at this first." Albert advanced and presented a booklet of a few pages to the king. The king was surprised at first, as there is clearly news about Daliver, but Sage Albert found this booklet to be more important. What might be more important than the threat of Daliver? He grabbed the booklet anyway, opened it, and started reading directly. After a few seconds, he opened his eyes wide. After a minute, his strong, oppressive aura disappeared. After 2 minutes, he stood up and started reading faster. After 3 minutes, What? A shout was heard across the royal palace. "Robin, this is not the path to Bradley's Pearl City." Billy was surprised by the direction Robin chose after he took the reins of the wagon. "I know we are not going there." To where then?" Billy asked an innocent question, but it was clear from his tone that he was very happy and his heartbeats were racing. If Robin is taking this direction on purpose and wasn't going back to Bradley's Pearl City, then he knew exactly where he is going. "Haha, you are not good at acting innocent, my friend. We're going home." "Yes." "Ha ha ha." Billy was overjoyed. This was the best news he had heard in a long time. Robin finally acknowledged his family. Robin smiled and didn't say anything, silently driving his wagon, silently looking forward to the new chapter of his story. Hold. Release. Boom. "Oh yeah, Robin. You're welcome. Robin, I love you. You are my hero. Please train me." A few minutes ago, about a week passed since the departure from the capital of the Black Sun. The carriage carrying Robin and his company is finally approaching the city of Jura. During the week, Robin worked hard in training and reached the 10th level, which amazed everyone about how clear his mind is so that he can break through to a higher level in a place and a condition like this. All the way, Billy was trying to convince Robin to go ahead of him and prepare a legendary reception for him, but every time Robin directly refused, saying that he doesn't like this of situations. But when they got a few kilometers before reaching the city, Billy left the wagon anyway and flew towards the city quickly without telling Robin. He quickly arrived at the Patriarch's office and told him that Robin was about to enter the city. The Patriarch went into a panic attack out of joy when he heard this. He was begging Robin not to leave the family when he was still just a brat that might have a good chance of being a middle-level saint. Then how should he value him after he became what he is now? The Patriarch then flout on top of the city ad announced with a loud voice to everyone that the living legend Robin decided to return to the family and brought with him Caesar and the rest of his students, and ordered everyone to come out to receive him. Actually, he didn't even have to ask them to come out to receive him. After all, since the appearance of Caesar, they heard a lot from the elders and the seniors of the family how great Robin is and how genius he was when he is young, and that he went on studies to strengthen the families and give them more strong offsprings like Caesar. Robin has already gained a certain degree of reverence in the later generations who were born after him. Immediately thousands took to the streets. They even organized 2 rows of hundreds of meters outside the city. ready with flowers and flags. Burton archers climbed up the rooftops and started using the arrows attached to the talismans as fireworks. When Robin and the rest saw from afar what was happening in the city, Caesar and the rest asked to get off the wagon before arriving, because they do not like this atmosphere. One of them was raised among monsters. One had a gruesome past in the dark ruins, and the latter was brutally tortured. Each and every one of them has lost connection with humanity one way or another. None of them cares to be in the spotlight. But Robin replied to them, "I also didn't want this, but it is not that bad either. Stay where you are and hold your heads high. Today everyone should see your faces to know who my children are so that they can give you the respect you deserve in the future. Pion, Theo, Zara. From today on call me father and call Caesar big brother. You're part of the family now. Understand?" Caesar smiled and nodded when he heard this. He was already starting to treat them like brothers. After all, he went through life or death experiences with them more than once, and since he himself was just an adopted son of Robin, he did not feel any sense of superiority over them. But when Theo and Pion heard this, they both got down on the floor of the wagon, kneeling with their heads hitting the floor. Tears could be seen clearly in their eyes. They now know that Robin is a 150-year-old man, so it is only natural that they are children or even grandchildren to him. But his status as their master who bought them with coins, his status as the absolute genius who gave them unprecedented strength, and his status as one of the most important people alive on the planet, makes his words heavier, much heavier. When they were put on the slave platform, neither of them dared to dream that his new master would do all this for him, and now he actually adopting them as his own children. The difference between a good slave and an adopted child is like the difference between day and night. Finally, Pion spoke with tears starting to wet the floor beneath him. "Mas dash, father. I'll say what is in my heart, and I think this represents Theo too. I swear that I'll throw myself into the fire if you tell me to." Theo, kneeling beside him, nodded. Robin, who was still holding the reins of the wagon, didn't look back once. He just smiled a little and spoke. "Of course you will. If you throw yourself in the fire, you'll protect yourself with Major Wind Law. Ha ha ha. All right. Your feelings are accepted. Don't act like that big sissy over there. Get up and get ready to know your family soon. Hey, who's the eldest sissy?" The smile was erased from Caesar's face and he asked starkly. The two laughed faintly and got up from their knees. Pion hugged his sister, who was crying for her joy in her new position with her brother, and everyone started preparing psychologically to enter Jura, the main stronghold of the Burtons. Currently, "You are my idol. I have a strong soul. Train me. Welcome back." The city streets are full. At first, everyone was shocked when they saw a few teenagers on the wagon. Robin was supposed to be a century and a half old. Even if he wasn't an old man, he is supposed to look older. But when the older generation started to arrive one by one, meeting Robin with a smile and greeting him, the youngsters also realized that this was indeed the legendary Robin and started cheering for him. If only the young ones know that those who knew Robin from before were in no less surprised than them. When Robin left, he was 14 years old at the 10th level, and now he looks almost the same age and also at the 10th level. It is clear that Robin has gone through some changes that can slow down the aging process somehow, or even reverse it. Some of those oldest and most powerful knights in the family have already known his situation when Billy saw Robin and reported back the first time. At that time, all those extra old knights wanted to press Robin to say how he did it. When Billy heard them talking that day, he actually started to think that Robin's choice was right. If he came straight here, it wouldn't have been all that easy on him. Billy aggressively shot them down, and the patriarch and the rest of the family saints forbade even bringing up the issue in front of Robin, saying that, if he can say, then he will say himself without asking for it, and if he can't say, then they will wait patiently until he is. Destiny, a miracle, an invention, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that the prodigal son has finally returned. Just passing through the streets lasted for about an hour because of the crowd. If not for the protection of several knights, then the wagon might not have even moved an inch. Robin himself was busy smiling, nodding, and waving. while the trio was at the back without any emotion on their faces. The one who really enjoyed the situation the most was Zara, who was busy collecting the flowers that were thrown at them. About an hour after reaching the entrance to the city, Robin arrived at the Burton family's command complex, the place where the administration buildings such as the Patriarch's office, the buildings for organizing and planning the armies, the meeting building, and many more. It also contains a few buildings dedicated to high-ranking visitors and messengers, as well as a few empty lands that are currently used to train young geniuses. This enclosed area of buildings is the heart and mind of the Burton family, and it is what was chosen as Robin's and companions' new home. After the carriage reached the administrative area, Robin entered and the huge doors were closed behind them to prevent any entry from the enthusiastic crowd behind them. Then the carriage was led towards one of the buildings that were dedicated for the most important guests, where Patriarch Brian was waiting with a smile. When he saw Robin get off the carriage, the Patriarch began to speak. "Finally, Robin, you are back. You can't imagine how happy we are that this day has come. At last, thank you for putting your trust in us again. Welcome. There's no need for formalities, Patriarch. I have no grudge against the family to begin with. I was just being extra careful. Maybe I was delusional and overthinking things. The important thing is that I'm here now. And as I promised you before I left that day, it's time to make up for my absence from the family." Inside the most important guests' building reception hall. After a few formalities in front of the building, Robin and his company entered, followed by the Patriarch and a few old men. Almost none of the elders or high officials in the family remained in Jura City, as all the saints went to war except the Patriarch. One of them was killed and the remaining 3 remained in the lands of the new family, the former Duchy of Tinley. Thus currently, there is only the Patriarch and Billy who returned with Robin. The same thing with the knights. Most of them are in the new lands, and only a handful of them are left to work on stabilizing the old family's lands. Mostly are elders who can't join the army, and most of them are in the same room with Robin now. Everyone here is high in both age and status. They all saw Robin at least once when he was still young. After seeing him again in the same appearance, age, and level of training, they just couldn't hold themselves, and some of them tried to ask him about what happened to him since he left. He gave them brief and general answers about his time in the cave, and that he gained special wisdom in his time there. But he refused to disclose any personal details such as the law he chose for himself and how he kept his body and cultivation, etc. And no one tried to pressure them either. The Patriarch even took the initiative to end the discussion and change the topic lest he gets angry and leaves them again. After a while of casual chatting, the Patriarch asked, "Robin, what do you intend to do now?" Every one of the elders went silent and waited patiently for Robin's reply. This was the reason why all the elders were gathered here. They know very well that it is the source of the talismans and the source of the glory and pride they live in now. Whatever he says now will determine the future of the family in the coming period. Honestly, even I haven't made up my mind yet about the next big step. If you were waiting for me to make large quantities of talismans and continue our conquests alongside the Bradley family, I'm afraid I am going to disappoint you." Robin shook his head. Everyone was disappointed when they heard this. They really wanted to push this glory to the max if they could. But the Patriarch hurried and spoke. "It's okay, the lands we currently own are more than enough to make us prosper for the next few hundred years. Who needs to expand more?" "Haha. Right. A few years ago we were worried about losing the title of Earl or even the family's demise. Thanks to you we got to this point. What more could we ask for?" Another elder added, "Rest, Robin. Live your life, complete your studies, and forget about wars. You have already raised our heads above the clouds." When Robin heard this, he smiled automatically and felt that he did not make a mistake with his return. Whatever the reason is behind their attitude, whether it was really familial love, or for fear that he would depart again, or recognition of his previous grace upon the family, at least here the relationship is not purely commercial. He can relax and do nothing if he wants to. Robin nodded and added, "As I said, I'm not going to make talismans en masse anymore, but I didn't say I wouldn't contribute to the family's glory. Please listen. I have tentative plans for something big, and if it goes as planned, the family will jump into a completely different place. Everyone present changed their looks from a satisfied smile to an excited one at once. One of them quickly asked, "What are those plans, Robin?" "Not now. The most important link in my plan is not complete yet. But I need your help with the initial steps and prepare the stage for me until I complete that missing link." "How do we help?" Billy quickly asked. Robin's eyes turned completely serious and he spoke. "I want cultivators with strong souls that are at least above average. A lot of them." They were amazed at his request. They thought he would ask to train more soldiers or something, but cultivators with strong souls? None of them could have foreseen that. The patriarch was the first to reply, "Cultivators with strong souls that are at least above average. In the family currently there is only one other than you whose soul can be considered above average. He is 19 years old and he is at the 8th level. Is that enough?" "No. If there is no one else in the family, then bring in more from outside. Gather cultivators with strong souls from the other small families in Jura City. Set up high-salary recruitment events for people from the Duchy of Alton and then the other duchies. Recruit senior knights who are no longer able to fight and bring them with a suitable salary. When you finish subjugating our new lands, arrest anyone with a strong soul and bring him here. Think of something, I want many. Many of them." Robin's words shocked those present. How many people do you want exactly? Come on. Am I not clear enough? The more, the better. But a recruitment of this size is not easy at all. You even want to get cultivators from other duchy, and not any cultivator either. You want them in a particular category that is a strong soul. That will require a lot of money, and the patriarch's features were twitched. The war undoubtedly brought them many spoils, but it also took many expenses. A lot of armors, shields, and weapons were destroyed and many horses were killed. All of that needs replacement. The war also left many orphans and widows in the family, who will also need some sort of pension to stay alive. And they also have to complete the reconstruction of their army, which was destroyed in the war about 13 years ago. It wasn't as urgent before, but now their lands have spread wide. It became almost a duchy. To tighten control over their old and new lands, they need a bigger army. Good lands may open up a new source of income for them, including mines, crops, trade, etc. But they also have to spend almost all of this on preparing an army to maintain the stability and protect it before the 20 years non-aggression treaty ends. Robin understood what the patriarch meant without any need for further explanation. "Don't worry about the money. I won't produce large quantities of runes for wars, but Zara and I can draw a few high-level runes for sale to nobles, or even sell a few spirit-revitalizing pills. The Burton family is really famous for the talisman anyway. It would not be strange if we do a permanent auction here in Jura City for those who want to buy talismans, and we will never find a shortage of buyers. Ah, I almost forgot. In the wagon there are 520,000 gold coins that Sage Albert paid me. Take them and assign them into a good course." What? The patriarch almost lost his mind when he heard the number. That is, a lot. Smiles returned to shine on everyone's faces. Finally, poverty that has been their partner for thousands of years will be expelled from their homes. The patriarch then nodded excitedly. "That is wonderful. As long as you can secure the money, we can collect the cultivators, any resources, whatever you want. Do you need anything else we can do for you?" "Currently, I don't want anything else. Everything will depend on that next missing link. I will decide what's next after I succeed or fail. I just need some blank scrolls and books that I can use in my research, and I don't want anyone to bother me for any reason during the coming period until I finish what I want to do." "All right. I think the coming period will start a campaign to subdue the inhabitants of our new lands in Doliver." The patriarch was surprised. "Oh, how do you know this?" "There are indeed some riots happening now in our new territory, and your Uncle David has already begun to move the army across the lands to subdue the local population." "Good. Send Caesar, Peon, and Theo to take part in the subjugation wars and give them battalions of their own to gain more experience and integrate into the army. And tell Uncle David that Peon and Theo are my adopted kids now just like Caesar. So please treat them according to this." Robin nodded. "No problem. The army will surely be pleased when they see them again." No one had any objection, actually. They rejoiced that those two are also of their family now. They all knew the heroic roles played by the three in the Great War. It was only right that they both have the same standing as Caesar. The patriarch slapped his thigh excitedly and quickly summed everything up. Excellent, as long as we made everything clear. I will immediately start building a grand auction hall in downtown Jura and start promoting its opening in 2 months from now. We will also begin to search for talents in the soul power of Jura City, and in the military campaigns against the rebels in our new lands. Then we will announce the opening of general recruitment for the entire kingdom for those with strong souls and retired knights when the auction opens in 2 months. Is that good? Robin nodded. The timeline is okay. In 2 months Zara can have a few pills and talismans of a suitable level to sell. Ah, I almost forgot. Catch. Robin took out 2 scrolls from his cloak and threw them towards the patriarch, who picked them up and opened the first of them excitedly. But soon the enthusiasm turned into a few tears that could be clearly seen in the patriarch's eyes. The elders present were tensed upon seeing this scene, and one of them hurriedly asked, "What is it, patriarch? Is there a problem in that scroll?" The patriarch smiled and wiped his eyes, then passed the scroll to the elder next to him. "No, not at all. Take it, you read it too." After the sheik also read it, he cried and then passed it to the next. Some were thrilled, some got emotional. It passed to all of them until they all finally understood what this was. The new land was officially granted to them by a decree from the royal family, and finally, they were recognized as a Marquis family. Their dream and that of their parents and grandparents have come true. After a few more seconds, the patriarch finally opened the next scroll and found a pledge sealed by the sage Albert that the Burton family could expand as they like so long as they don't go too far, and that they could aggressively defend their interest or attack against any personal problem without interference from the royal family for 50 years. The patriarch was very surprised by this and quickly looked at Robin. There is no need to think about the importance of that promise now. Focus on the Marquis document. With this document, you can legally launch subjugation wars on our new lands and formally dominate them, and no other family will try to take a piece from it without starting a war with US. I refuse to think that some family would offend us over new unsubdued land. You can also use it to increase the family's business and recruit more talents from all over the kingdom for a Marquis family now. Just make the most of it. All right, then we'll leave now and let you rest. The patriarch nodded excitedly, then stood up excited to start what he had to do, and the rest of the elders stood after him. Robin was right. Their new official status would bring them more benefits, be it political weight or commercial. Everything needs to be reconstructed. Wait. Before everyone left, Bailey interjected. Robin, you asked me to lock up your brother John until you have time for him. He has been in prison since then. Since you are here now, what do you want to do with him? He has been screaming since we throw him in prison that he wants to meet you. Oh, I almost forgot about that guy. I guess he can't really be left imprisoned for too long. Kill him. Robin waved without interest. Ha! Everyone responded at the same time, wondering. Robin's answer was not expected at all. Robin raised an eyebrow. What? We won't let him eat and drink for free forever, right? Kill him, hang his body in front of his house for 7 days, and then throw the body out of town to be eaten by the beasts. Robin was speaking softly, but every word that came out with dense killing intent made the bodies of everyone present shiver and the hair of their bodies stand up. Caesar quickly tried to intervene after hearing those words. Father, perhaps there is a misunderstanding. Even if he is mistaken, he is still your brother. Perhaps you should dash. Shut up. Taking you to the restaurant for the first time and letting you handle the situation yourself without helping you can be considered a coincidence or his character is weak, but smuggling you out of the family residence a few hours before the competition, taking you to the city gate, convincing you to go with the saints who clearly wanted to kill you, are all of these coincidences too? Robin got really angry and yelled at Caesar. Maybe it was really a coincidence. Caesar spoke in a low voice, not looking directly at Robin's eyes. When Robin saw him like this, he didn't continue his screaming. After a few seconds he spoke again. I haven't got the chance to hear all the details about what happened that night. I'll ask you one question, and the answer to it you will decide whether to carry out the death penalty or to postpone for further investigation. Answer only with the truth. Ready? Caesar's eyes flashed for a moment. He didn't want to believe that his kind Uncle John had a hand in the assassination attempt. If he had a chance to save him, just come now. so he hurriedly replied, "I'll answer honestly, please ask." Robin nodded. "When the Saints got busy with their battles and you decided to escape with Peon and Theo using darkness talismans, did that guy try to stop you from leaving in anyway?" Caesar was shocked by the question and looked towards the ground. He didn't answer. When Robin saw him like this, he furrowed his eyebrows more and looked at Peon. "Did that really happen?" "Yes, Mass Dash. Ahem, yes, father. Uncle John did try to stop us with all his might, and I assume that if he had known about the existence of the talismans beforehand, he might have grabbed us so we wouldn't leave him alone." Peon spoke without feelings. When he heard the report, Robin became even angrier. "That bastard! If he isn't killed for treason, he should have been killed for rampant stupidity. Billy, do as I told you, but hang him in front of his house for 2 weeks instead of 1, and tell everyone what he did. Tell them that this is the penalty for treason against the family, for treason against me. No one will escape punishment, not even those who are my flesh and blood. The betrayal of his institution's colleague who came to kill him, the betrayal of the person who leaked his information to the royal family, and the betrayal of his brother John, who almost lost Caesar from him. For Robin, whose path depends on going step by step as secretly as possible, betrayal is his worst nightmare." The elders understood what Robin was up to and nodded and then left. Billy also sighed and went out behind them to do what he had to do. After he emptied the building for Robin and accompanied him, Robin looked at Caesar, who was still clearly very sad. "Sai, I don't know if you are sad that he betrayed you or that his betrayal of you will lead to his death. Either way, you must realize that your life is more important than anyone or anything. Whoever wants to mess with you, they better be ready to get killed themselves. Go now, choose rooms for yourselves, arrange your stuff in your new rooms and rest for the night. Tomorrow the 3 of you will go to more battles. And you, Zara, after you have a good rest, start making a few spirits revitalizing pills as I taught you, and make a few different kinds of talismans, but let your primal focus be on cultivating and resting your soul powers. That's more important than any instant benefit we might gain from the auctions. Always put your health first. And when you are done with the talismans and cultivating, go out and play. Live your life and meet the other girls in the family. You are a Butron as much as they are." "Yes, father." The 4 nodded, Theo and Peon without emotion. Caesar held on a little better, and Zara was visibly excited and happy. Caesar smiled awkwardly and spoke jokingly. "And you, Dad, what are you going to do? Don't say you will be focusing on training and leaving the 3 of us in the dirt behind you. You've already caught with us even though you focus on research more. This is really hurting our self-confidence." "Ha ha ha, don't worry, boy. I have something in my head to look for, and this may take a lot of time. You will have enough time to build your pillars before me, but don't be lazy. Go away now. It's time for bed, and a new beginning tomorrow." On the same day, news broke that Robin's blood brother, John Burton, had been slaughtered and his body hung in a humiliating manner in front of his own house. It was also announced that he betrayed the family and plotted to kill Caesar. Thus Robin asked for him to be killed in this way. But that didn't reduce the impact of his death much. It actually made it more fearful. Everyone was slaughtering beasts and livestock to make a banquet in celebration of Robin, and he ordered the slaughter of his own blood brother as soon as he entered the city. At that moment, everyone realized that the cute, smiling young man who was on the carriage was far from being nice. They realized that the person who retired from the world for 150 years was not some wise ascetic who doesn't care about worldly matters, but rather a beast with intense ambition who knows nothing of mercy. Everyone realized they had to reevaluate Robin Burton, so they wouldn't make the same mistake as the traitor John. Finally, after days of continuous travel, Robin and his companions slept well for more than a full day. 2 days after their arrival at Jura City, the 3 young men bid farewell to Robin and Zara, then set out for the new lands of the Burton family to subdue the rebels and search for talents with strong souls, as Robin commanded. Zara went back to draw talismans, as she has to draw many kinds of talismans before the first auction that is only 2 months later, and even to draw the pattern on the spirit revitalizing pills which she hadn't tried before. She just watched Robin make them. Other than drawing talismans, she has to practice to raise her energy level, The 11-year girl is making a lot of progress towards the 8th level. It is worth noting that even Mila, who is the cultivation genius of her generation, was not even close to this level when she was her age. Of course, Zara's combat experience is non-existent, and if she fights someone lower than her a level or two, she will be defeated. But even so, her cultivation speed is still a miracle for the current era. As for Robin, he found for himself a dark room isolated from the activities of the rest of the building. The room had its own bathroom inside, and decided to seclude himself in for the next period. After getting rid of most of his obligations towards the 3 families that know his identity, the time has finally come to make another huge leap in the world, something that, if accomplished according to his imagination, all future plans will be built upon. And this thing has to do with soul. Currently, the spiritual power in the world does not represent any weight. The more a person becomes strong in terms of energy cultivation, his soul becomes a little stronger, which gives him clarity of mind, prolongs the period of his lack of need to sleep, strengthens his concentration, widens his spiritual sense zone, etc. That made it be linked directly with energy cultivation. Thus, if a baby is found with a stronger soul, then he must have some talent in energy cultivation as well. Or that is what is currently believed. But that same argument is full of defectives. Why are some people born with an initial stronger soul compared to ordinary people to begin with? Doesn't that mean they can be treated as something separate? Another evidence appeared when Robin began to feel his spiritual energy decrease and feel fatigued whenever he draws a talisman, and this lost soul energy, or whatever it is, returns to its previous strength after resting and meditating for a while, and after a period of drawing the talismans, he noticed that his soul strength has increased by a very small amount, even though his energy level did not increase. Does this not mean that it can be treated as an energy subject to increase and decrease, like the energy of the surrounding nature that everyone uses and absorbs from the air and stones? If the soul was strengthened, wouldn't his mind become stronger and have a better readiness to explore patterns around it? Would he not be able to use his discovery to train a large number of talismanic painters and make his own army of painters? These possibilities alone were more than sufficient to make him eager to start on this path. Exploring spiritual energy first will lead to a way to find a way to strengthen the soul, which will open a huge door of future possibilities, and who knows what else he might find. It's been 40 days since Robin entered his seclusion. This was the first time someone tries to find more about the soul, and starting something from scratch is not easy. The first thing Robin chose to head to was to find a way to accurately define his current soul power. Without knowing how powerful he is now, it will be impossible to know how much he gets stronger or by how much the talisman drawing takes from him. Until now, he just feels without accurate numbers, and for a researcher, this is a joke. He needs an anchor to measure everything concerning the soul power with. Spiritual sense. This was almost the only known application of soul power and could be used in combat and exploration to find out the locations of targets and predict their next step, etc. After a lot of examinations, Robin found that the area that a spiritual sense could extend to express the extent of a person's spiritual strength. But this also wasn't good enough. It is not a tangible thing that can be observed and examined because it is stretched on a large scale until its density is almost non-existent. If anything can be compared to it, then it must be the void. The good thing is, unlike the void, the soul power can be controlled. So he spread his spiritual sense to the extreme, and then he found a way to compress that sphere around him as tightly as possible without allowing it to get back to his body. After many failed attempts, he finally succeeded in transforming the huge sphere into a faint, shining aura that flew away from his body for only 5 inches and couldn't be compressed any further. With his eyes of the truth, he examined the aura around his hand and found that he could see this aura very clearly, and finally he was able to detect patterns on it. Robin's joy at his new discovery can only be compared to his joy when he first started seeing the patterns, an indescribable feeling. Anything he sees patterns in means that he can use and manipulate it. The new door towards potentially another cultivation method was finally opened for humanity. That made him extremely excited, but his happiness and enthusiasm were cut short only 2 days after he discovered the patterns of spiritual strength. Knock knock. Robin opened his eyes angrily. What is the matter, Zara? Didn't I tell you not to interrupt me? I'm sorry, but there are important people who want to meet you and I don't know when you're going out. A faint, guilt-filled voice came from behind the door. Robin knew he was being hard on her, so he sighed. Sigh, all right, I'm coming out. He got up and took a shower in the room's bathroom and put on a new cloak, then went out to find Zara still standing waiting, and asked, Who are those important people that I should receive myself? It's Lady Mila, and she's with other people. They're all waiting for you in the Patriarch's office. Robin was surprised by the reply. Mila? What is she doing here? Okay, I'll go see what's going on. 10 minutes later, the Patriarch's office. I heard someone wants to meet me. A voice from outside caught the attention of everyone in the office, and a few seconds later Robin entered with a smile. The first person he saw was a very beautiful woman with explosive feminine looks. She was looking in at him with complex eyes. Haha, Aunt Mila. How can this little one serve you? When he saw Mila Bradley, he couldn't help but burst out laughing and immediately tried to provoke her. Shameless. The complex look on Mila's face disappeared and was replaced by an angry one. Then with humph, I turned to face her in the other direction. Oh? General Edward is here too? That sounds serious. Robin's tone turned serious when he saw the genius general who had subdued Dolliver, and beside him were 3 other saints. I salute noble Robin. Edward nodded with a smile. Robin, this group came from the Bradley family and they all want to talk to you. Now that you are here, I will leave you to your work then. The Patriarch spoke with a smile and then stood up ready to leave. No need, Uncle Brian, you can stay here. There's nothing between me and the Bradleys worth hiding, Robin replied, finding himself a free chair and sitting on it, then quietly asked, How can I help you? Robin, I know that you are a busy man, so I will go straight to the point. Since your departure and until now, we are analyzing and consulting almost daily about what we can offer you in exchange for the continuation of our relations. For the first few days after you left, we were very confused because we thought you were going to stay with the royal family. If that happened, then it has been impossible to offer something that the royal family doesn't have, but after we knew you were here, the task got much easier. Mila took the initiative and spoke, then looked at Patriarch Brian. No offense. Ahaha. None taken. The Patriarch laughed, for he knows the value of his family well. Robin smiled. Okay then, and what's your final conclusion? What do you have to offer in exchange for continuing our business relationship? We have a lot of money, you can increase your sales prices for us, and we will pay you grants equivalent to 1 million gold coins annually to support your researches. Mila smiled a smile full of confidence. The Patriarch's eyes almost jumped out of place. 1 million gold coins annually. I can sell runes at any price I want to anyone I want, so this part cannot be used as an argument, and the 1 million gold coins you're speaking about, I can get them myself after a few auctions. What else do you have? Robin chuckled. Mila's smile faded and doubt began to enter her heart. We have a huge trading network. We can provide all kinds of resources you want for your research. Anything that can be considered rare, we can get them for you, pills, hides, metals. Anything you want will be yours for free. Robin nodded vigorously. Good argument but flawed. I have already formed a good relationship with the royal family. Anything you can access the royal family can access and some more. What else do you have? The saints started to look at each other out of their eyes. The conversation was not going well as they imagined. Robin started laughing when he saw their faces. Ha. What? I can't be blamed for forming a good relationship with the royal family. The traitor in your family was the one who pushed me to their lap. If you want to blame someone for this, blame yourselves. Robin, show us some regard. We have been working together for quite some time. We were the ones who supported you from the very start. Damn it! Mila raised her voice a little. It was a purely commercial relationship and you earned far more from it than I did, but whatever, because of our previous relationship, I value the Bradley family and that is why I'm giving you this opportunity to convince me. Please note that you are not giving me a favor with those offers, as I do not need this relation anymore as I can just sell everything I make to the royal family. Now let us get back to the topic. What else do you have? Robin replied with the same smile as if he hadn't heard anything. Mila hesitated a little. as this was the last card they thought of, and if he rejected it they would be in trouble. But in the end, she mustered her courage and spoke. Robin, with the route you have chosen to yourself, you are destined that you will never have peace. Even without your identity fully known, you have tasted an assassination attempt. Then what would happen later when one of the enemies of the Black Sun know of you? With all due respect, the Burton family does not have the strength to protect you from any assassination attempt. That's why the 5 of us came together. We can strengthen the Burton family's defenses as long as you are in it, and we will take turns to make sure you are protected no matter where you are. And if there is another war concerning you or the Burton family, we can participate in with you free of charge. Patriarch Brian smiled big ear to ear upon hearing this. Currently, only he and Billy were in Jura City, and he was indeed terrified at the thought of an assassination attempt on Caesar. I have an agreement with His Highness Sage Albert that he would send a few high-leveled saints to protect me all the time as well. They are most likely outside the building now, ready to step in if we had a quarrel. What else do you have? What? The Patriarch rose from his seat. There have been high-level saints inside Jura City the whole time and he didn't know? And they are so close that they are watching over Robin all day long? This is terrifying. And reassuring. Robin's words were a fatal blow to the 5 saints. There is only General Edward among them who can be considered a high-level saint. And he is here because he volunteered to come himself. Duke Galen doesn't have the power to send more saints of these levels. Their morale plummeted to 0 after they were sure of success. Whatever they came up with is nothing in Robin's eye. Robin! Mila shouted angrily and stood there staring at him. Robin chuckled and shrugged, but he didn't respond. Noble Robin, in fact, we have no other offers to make. But this really baffles me. You are a smart man, and you must know that our existence on your side as a Duke family will benefit you sooner or later. So it is impossible that you permanently want to cut ties with us. Then what will satisfy you? As long as our offers do not live up to your expectations, please give us your terms and we will do our best to make them come true. Edward spoke politely as usual. He hadn't lost hope yet. He knows that he was not talking to some brat, but a wise adult. Robin smiled and looked at St. Edward. You are probably right, General. Someday I probably will need the Bradleys. And when that day comes and weren't friends anymore, I will seek you out, beg, and pay you a lot to gain your help. But guess what? I already did that anyway when I lived among you and we had an excellent relation. What good it does for me then if we have a good relationship or not? At the end of the day, there is nothing between me and the Bradley family but plain trade and benefits exchange. These sentences silenced St. Edward, who was preparing to negotiate and try to persuade Robin further. Opportunities come once in a lifetime. Previously, Robin used Galen to take his revenge, and Galen took advantage of Robin's need for him and snatched from him the method of making one of his most important and effective innovations, the Talisman of Fire. And this for Robin concluded that it doesn't matter if he kept in contact with them or not, as when he really needs them he will make high offers to gain their help whether they are friends or not. If that is the case, then why should he split his focus between them and the royal family then? Previously there was Robin who needed the Bradley family and the Bradley family who needed Robin. But now the balance has been broken. Robin no longer needs them. Finally, St. Edward understood what Robin wanted to say. All their preparations were in vain. This is no longer a relationship based on equality. In fact, the 3 other saints finally reached this conclusion as well and lost hope. Even the Patriarch sighed and shook his head. The only one who didn't understand yet was Mila, who was still looking angrily at Robin. Robin chuckled in a low voice when he saw her angry look, then stood up. As long as there is nothing the Bradleys can do for me, there's no need to talk about it anymore. I have more research to get back to. If you come up with other offers that you think might work, you know where to find me. Then turn around and walk to the door. Robin! Mila yells and hits the ground. She knows if they leave today, they won't come back. After hearing the affirmation of the new relation between Robin and the royal family, they already lost hope of offering any material thing. As if they measure everything they can offer against what the royal family can. Then there is nothing else that the family has that Robin would want. But Robin didn't stop upon hearing the shout and made his way to the door, knowing she wouldn't say anything new. When Mila saw this, her eyes turned red, filled with tears. Most likely, after Robin exits this door, they will not meet again, and perhaps she will only see him from afar. The patriarch was watching everything silently from the side. He was shocked when he saw Milla's tears, and an idea struck his head like a thunderbolt. He quickly stood up and shouted, "Wait a minute, Robin. The relationship between you and the Bradleys doesn't have to be just commercial.